Red tide rolls in a cold breeze, steel boots on the sand, no ease. Propellers hum the Soviet quest, but the island ain't weak, not less. She-hot tanks roaring loud and clear, zombie hula girls, no fear. Tiki terrors rise, eyes ablaze, Soviets drown in the island haze. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. She-hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls' hearts won't break. Under moonlight chants they clash, steel meets flame, bones will thrash. Cold War's heat, the island's grip, Tiki rage will never slip. Drums beat, wild waves take hold, Soviet shiver, hearts turn cold. In the depths of night they fail, Tiki terror's ancient tale. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. She-hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls' hearts won't break. Hearts won't break.
Howdy, it's your old pal, Tiki the Hut. Thanks for joining me again on another Too Late Tonight with Tiki. Oof, feel like it's been a while. Sorry about that, I know I'm several minutes late. It took a little while to knock the cobwebs off old OBS. It had some weird updates and it like moved all my settings around, so it took me forever to figure out how to get this thing back operational. So like I said, my settings all got jumbled up, so you guys let me know how the audio is. Is the music too loud? Is the talking too quiet? You guys let me know. Arcade Bad Rabbit, how you guys doing tonight? Nice. Yeah, I need to hurry up and finish my my MPs. I don't know what like robbed my sales of motivation to complete this army for Fall of Berlin, but I need to. I'm sure your army's already done, RK, but I still gotta finish up mine. Yeah, I realized tan probably wasn't the best color to base these, so I based the other ones in Death Guard green. It's a little bit easier, you know, to work with. So how you guys been? I don't know about you guys, but I've been crazy busy lately. I was able to sneak in a game of Bolt Action though. I played Doc Ginger. It was actually a lot of fun. Probably, and nothing against, you know, RK or Irish or Trooper. Probably the most fun game of Bolt Action 3rd Edition I've played so far. It was 500 points. My IJ enlist versus my own IJ list. Doc Ginger played the Army. I played the Navy. Just going through doing some touch-ups, finishing the master truck first, and I'll get the other trucks knocked out. Yes, no, I absolutely did. So, for those who are interested what the list were, for the Army, they had, so far, everybody was veteran except for the Navy's 2 light tanks. So, the Army had an officer squad. So, it was an officer, 2 adjutants. They all had, all veterans, all with SMGs. They had 2 10-man rifle squads, all rifles, 10 men. They had a veteran anti-tank team, a veteran light mortar team, 3 personnel, and a veteran lunge mine, pretty sure it was a veteran light truck with a medium machine gun. Oh, they did have 2 inexperienced Kimpatai. They had a squad of Kimpatai, 2 Kimpatai who were inexperienced with SMGs. That was about 500 points. That's actually just under 500 points. And they were going up against the Imperial Navy, who had 2 10-man veteran squads, except the NCO and another trooper had SMGs. 1 veteran officer, no adjutants, just an SMG. 1 veteran anti-tank rifle team, and then 2 inexperienced commie swim tanks. He came out strong. The lunge mine was able to infiltrate, and then it took out one of my commies. His anti-tank rifle team took out my other commie. I definitely messed up the rules a little bit. I totally forgot that inexperienced get a -1 to shooting. But with the fact that both armies had Fanatic, it actually made for a lot of fun. 2 of our rifle squads ended up like charging each other after they exchanged some shots, which was pretty cool. Overall, it was a very, very fun game. And we tested some of the rules I want to do for Clash of the Caribbean, and we tested one of the missions, the Bad Habit mission. So, I think it's great, and I think it works great. Now I just need to iron out the other 2 missions. I'm glad you're doing well, Bad Rabbit. Yeah, I'll take a look at that once I take a little break here. Yeah, I got a lot of painting to do, so I'll probably be painting a little bit longer than I usually do tonight, just to try and catch up. Yeah, for the finer details, you'll probably see me painting a little bit off stream. That's just to hold it closer to my eye. I got a lot of eye fatigue from my trip, staring at a lot of screens, you know? So my eyes are actually super fatigued and super tired, so I gotta hold them all real close. Yeah, so for these, I think I'm going to paint the fuel tank silver, but I think I'm going to do the rest of the chassis, like the back part. I'm just going to do it green. That way it's easier just to get all these things kind of mass painted. Yeah, off the top of my head, I mean, other than white, I can't even think what the Finnish uniforms would look like. Are they like light blue? I don't even know what a Finnish uniform looks like. Yeah, it was definitely a not the best call making the undercoat tan. I have regrets. But for Bad Rabbit and RK, I appreciate you guys already being in the chat. But just a heads up for you guys. I think we possibly may have found our fifth and sixth person for the event for Clash of the Caribbean. So right now he's talking it over with his spouse. They're deciding whether they want to go or not, but pretty exciting. I didn't think anybody would do it, so getting up to 6 people is actually pretty insane. Okay, steel, so a lighter gray with a blue bottoms, that kind of works, I guess. Especially for their area. German light. Same same level of violence, only half the calories. German light. I like it. Ooh, yeah, I gotta do a lot of touch up on this one just to cover up all the damn tan. We're going to turn the brightness down a little bit. No, I really didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I was worried about like the cost of the cruise. I mean, granted, it's not like, I don't know, money's relative to everybody, so it's hard to like say what's quote unquote expensive or not. But when I looked back at the cost of the cruise for like just the simplicity of like the bare bones of it, then I looked at like what a new starter set costs for most tabletop war games. I was like, oh, they're actually pretty similar in pricing. So I don't know. I was worried about that. Some people aren't comfortable leaving the States. You know, I mean, granted, this is a closed loop travel. So because it's only going from West Palm Beach to the Bahamas, you technically don't, if you're a U.S. citizen, you don't even need a passport. You can technically sail on your birth certificate. I've done it before. I wouldn't recommend it, but you certainly can. If you have a passport, I would definitely recommend using that instead. But it is an option for those who don't have passports or don't want to get passports. But yeah, I was worried about people not wanting to leave the States and stuff like that. Also, some people don't like being on boats, Some people are scared of the ocean. It just seemed like kind of like a weird pipe dream, but I mean, I got my room booked. I'm definitely going. I think some other people are going too, so it's gonna be a good time. Oh, that's why you get a laminated, RK. Make a little paper boat out of it, like an It. And I will definitely bring. I'm definitely gonna bring probably 3 starter. I'll probably bring 3 500-point armies just in case we get some more people who want to swing by and try it out, or in case someone doesn't show. Mrs. Tiki won't be playing. She'll be absolutely relaxing. But I plan to be a TO or jump in and play if I need to. Alright, the cab looks a little bit better. We get the rest of the truck green and then finish up the other colors. We'll hop on one of the other trucks. Yeah, keeping it simple. Green, black, silver, gray, and some stuff for like the lights and stuff. Not too many colors, not too many details. Just trying to keep it simple. RK was there, so I sent him a message earlier today. I was snooping around eBay like I do, you know, looking for 28mm Japanese stuff. And somebody said they're selling, you know, IJA Isuzu, which the correct term is Type 94, by the way. But he was trying to say he was selling Type 94 Isuzu trucks, right? I clicked on the picture. I shit you not. RK has the picture too. It is this exact same truck, except they come dark green, right? So it was basically dark green. He put like a wash on it, and then he put a sticker, like a red dot sticker, on both doors, and another little sticker on the gas tank. And then I think he painted the tires, and it's like hand painted, you know, IJA Isuzu truck. I was like, that's not even a Japanese truck. I was like, nothing about this looks like a Japanese truck. Like, get the fuck out of here. But he was selling. Here's the kicker. He was selling each one for $16 US with like a $5 shipping charge. I was like, you've got to be for Temu trucks. Again, I'm not trying to keep anyone from making their money. I mean, you do you, boo. Hustle, I guess, but I got like, I don't even remember how many of these. Enough to give a whole bunch of these trucks. I gave half each. Oh, those 24 trucks. I got 24 trucks, I think, for like $12 or something like that. Whatever these Temu trucks are. I kept 6 and gave the other 6 to some buddies. He sold each one for $16. He put a wash on it, painted the tires, and put some stickers on it. The sheer fucking hubris. It was insane. I was like, damn. So the only problem with digging around and I found this out because I have like a drawer of Japanese models that I'm probably not going to use because the scale is too far off that I would notice. Like, luckily my AT rifles, the guys came in chunky, but they're not so chunky that you really notice. You know, they're not like heroic scale, but they're getting close, you know. But they're okay. But some of the other models I have, they're just too too stumpy and chubby. And like I got a Type 95 that's bigger than my Type 97s. It's weird. So that's something I figured out is my recommendation. And the one store I used, he's taking a break right now. Otherwise, I'd promote him. But I'm trying to find another store that makes models. But what I have to do is I have to order like one model and check the scale, because I've already got my heart broken before by ordering like a whole bunch of models and them all being off scale and not usable. Like if you use just them by themselves, they'd be okay. But when you try and mix them with Warlord game stuff, nah. No, actually, Bad Rabbit, I took a look at the Warlord app and I tried to rebuild my Department of Antiquities, like my treasure hunter army for American Airborne, and I can keep most of the same units. I mean, there's some small changes here and there, but points wise, I can still build them out at the 500, 750, 1000, 1250, and 1500 point levels, respectively, you know? So, I'll get those guys built and painted. This little MP army I'll never be able to run again, because they're not compatible with the army book, so. Yeah, I may actually end. I mean, I'm gonna keep the trucks probably, but I may end up giving seeing who wants my MP guys. I was gonna paint them up as MPs, but I think now I'm just gonna paint them up as regular. You know, since I can't, since the rules changed on what an actual MP is, you can't really run them that way. So now I think I'm just gonna paint them up as regular, and then I'll just see who wants, you know, a bunch of painted army guys and jeeps. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if I could have gotten away with bringing Imperial Japanese for the fall of Berlin, I would have in a heartbeat. I would have brought some SNILF, Special Naval Landing Force, and said they're like evacuating the embassy or some shit. Absolutely, if I thought I could have gotten away with it. 100%. Same thing, RK. I'm always behind. I'm always behind. That's why I'm in a rush now to get these things kind of painted. But like I said, these trucks, I'll end up probably using these same trucks because I like using trucks with heavy machine guns. So I'll probably end up using these in my treasure hunter army, you know? I may end up repainting some of them from green to like other colors, but I'll probably keep all 6 of these trucks. But when I go to that fall of Berlin, I'll see who's there and I'll see who wants my my jeeps and my my troops, and I'll probably just give those away. Yeah, that 500 point game was the first time I got to see someone use the my Kippatai, my schoolgirls with MP40s. That was pretty cool. And if you've never done it before, I highly recommend it. Like let someone else play as your army and look at your army from the other side, you actually learn a lot. Like I got to see how another person would run like the list I built. I learned some limitations, some advantages. It was actually a really enlightening experience. It was a lot of fun. And that was the first time I got to use the amphib rule in bolt action with my Kami swimming tanks. First time I've used an amphibious model since probably 7th edition Warhammer 40k with the old chimeras. I mean, you may not like this, RK. It's a lazy answer, but it's the best answer. Um, Met to see dependent, but no, it depends on the board. So if I show up and if someone just makes like a L and 7 shaped ruined desert, it's not gonna do anything. But if there's actually like rivers and stuff, then oh hell yeah. I posted some of the pictures, and bridges are like if you actually set up a table how it should be, and like bridges or checkpoints and choke points and stuff like that, then I always put a little crocodile on the river. That way troops don't cross the river because you'll get your ass bit. It'll what we call the Florida hello. So it was cool. He took the main bridge, so he put the Kibatai in a truck, and he drove the gun truck up to the bridge. He put some shots on my AT team to pin it down, and he had his Kibatai jump out of the truck and rush onto the bridge to grab a nun. So because he had that bridge secured and he was closer to one of the other crossings, I just drove my swim tanks kind of onto the river and sat them there, and just like kind of took up points on the river. He hit one with a lunge mine because I hadn't managed the river yet, and he disabled the other Kami with an AT rifle shot. He must have hit it in the treads and knocked it out. I was like, now it's just a pillbox floating in the river. it just sat there passing out MG shots everywhere. Yeah, and I've noticed it's not just me. So I feel your pain about those. Actually, let me read out loud. I'm trying to be better. I went back and watched some of my streams while I was operating those drones in the field, and I noticed I just like read y'all's message without reading them out loud, and I noticed the text is kind of hard to read if you go back and watch it. So I'm gonna start reading your text out loud if that makes sense. So from RK, my last game I got tore up because I forgot about shooting for buildings, windows, and doors. But I also had every single shot from my 4 AT guns miss. I felt that in my soul. So I'll post the pictures on the YouTube page, but we both had AT rifles and I had some light tanks, and so we literally set up like these little duels on either side of the river. You know, his AT rifle would shoot, you know, and hit my tank. I'd shoot and I'd miss him, and back and forth. But he played his light mortar team very conservatively, like they were a legit mortar team. Because I was trying to tell him I don't take any fixed artillery. Everything in my army moves, you know. So he just could not get a mortar shot off. I mean, he stayed still for like 3 turns trying to dial in. And, you know, I mean, none of my models stand still. They always move, so it's really hard to dial in. So yeah, he was just, and he was doing it right, where he'd shoot, and then the beginning of the next turn, the first dice he pulled would go right to the mortar team to try and get that dial-in bonus. But he just could not get a shot off. So dice seem really fickle, whether it's the AT rifle or it's the mortars. AT rifle, it hurts that the AT rifle is only 1 shot. I get why. I'm not trying to fluff it, but yeah, when you miss that AT rifle shot, it hurts. I'm sure you remember the second battle of Malta. You know, my AT rifle over by that building just could not get any of those shots off. I mean, it is what it is. But that's why, at least for the Imperial Japanese, I absolutely love my AA trucks, my Type 98 AA trucks, because it's 2 shots. It may sound crazy, but that 2 shots just, to me, makes me feel so much better. Oof, yeah, point blank. The one that really got me from Arcade, the one that really got me was a point blank shot at the buildings. Yeah, and again, that's why if the organic rules for Bolt Action 3rd Edition for smoke weren't as limiting as they are, I think a lot more people would be using smoke. Because smoke could be super helpful when you're trying to move. Or if an enemy occupies a building, just smoke right in front of that building. You don't have to cover your troops. You just have to cover what they can shoot, you know, or at least cover, you know, put smoke on one side of the building, because then he either has to wait for the smoke to drift or he has to exit the building. And I am noticing, for those of you who do want to play Imperial Japanese for version 3, officers are starting to have more and more of a use, only because Banzai has been changed, and it's no longer you can just, you know, instead of taking order tests, you can just charge the nearest unit and it goes off automatically. Since that's no longer a thing, you know, especially when units start to take a pin, having officers nearby is extraordinarily handy. All right, from RK. I don't think I took any indirects in that list. I had a rifle platoon, inexperienced, reconnaissance platoon, a fanatics, and an armored platoon. I'm really digging mobile units right now. That's why I'm missing the second edition. Fire maneuver, yeah, no joke. The third edition one is garbage. You're exactly correct. That's not thematic, fun, or effective. Honestly, 10 out of 10 points, man. I completely agree. I think I see what Bolt Action's trying to do. And again, I'm not a game developer, you know. But I think I see what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a lot of rules universal, you know? I have RK, your comment about I feel like Bonsai isn't going to change, but their officers may get a boost for use doing it. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do the rules for the Imperial Japanese. Like I said, it could wildly go in any which direction. I'm just trying not to get too excited about it. I'm just trying to have fun with what we have now. They're weird. I think the reason why I say that, I think because the Imperial Japanese, historically anyways, I think because a lot of their small arms tanks, the reason why I like them so much is they're very different. Not quite like Xeno different, but like they're extraordinarily different from the other armies of Europe or America, some of the other kind of stuff like that. And what interests me is a lot of their stuff was designed not really in a vacuum, but you know, they took a look at what was going on elsewhere and they kind of like tried to create their own. So with that, a lot of their stuff just almost isn't, it's hard to categorize it in the same way as it is the other armies, because it's almost just not even compatible. They did things just wildly different, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Some of the stuff they had was good ideas, a lot of them were terrible ideas. I don't know, but it's hard to, as I said, it's going to be hard to give them the same universal rules as other people, you know, because their army was ran so vastly different. Hey, what's going on, man? Yep, got some Timu trucks. Yeah, nothing wrong with transports, man. Trucks are trucks. You guys see Zern Central, he's getting more and more followers, which I'm glad. You know, the channel hopefully should blow up soon. But he's doing a good job of putting out like videos about third edition and like tactics. And right now he's covering transports, which is pretty interesting. And one of his things is called the quote-unquote gun truck. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's going to be what I call moto surfing, but I'm excited for him to get to it. When we did our 500-point game, Doc Ginger and I, that 500, wow. That light truck with a mini machine gun, I could not kill it. I dumped, I mean, granted, I was shooting from inexperienced tanks, but I dumped, you know, light AT rounds, machine gun fire, AT rifle fire. I could not kill that damn truck. I think it was maybe a case of fish dice, but I could not kill that truck. Oh, these trucks, I plan on running these trucks with my, anyways, before the book came out, on what I made a small MP platoon. So it's 6 trucks, 5 Jeeps, and a whole bunch of guys with SMGs and VARs. But now that the new armies of America, came out, they actually put MPs in there, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, I'm super glad they actually got a mention. Like, that's super cool, but it made this whole list obsolete. I actually know a guy who's selling off his bolt action army. It's Imperial Japanese for a really good price. I'm about to purchase it. I was looking at the models. I'm like, yeah. Especially because it's for a buddy. I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and purchase that. So I'm about to have even more models to paint. Luckily, they're already all built, which is kind of nice. One day, I'm gonna have to like lay out all the Tiki Terrors, and we'll have to see like how many there are. But yeah, when he gets to the gun truck, I'm pretty sure it's going to be what I call, not that I don't think I probably need it, but what I call moto surfing. I think you're going to see that. Where you're going to see, the cheapest truck taken at regular veterancy, given the best machine gun you can give it, and then just sticking like an inexperienced person in there, or like the cheapest model you can. Because you gotta remember, right? Everyone's like, oh, it's just a soft-skinned vehicle. Yeah, but you still have to hit it on a 6. And everyone's like, oh, I'll just shoot it, with rifle fire or, machine gun fire. And that's true, too, but you gotta remember, machine guns can outrange SMGs and rifles. So as long as you keep the truck like a decent distance away and just keep moving it and shooting it, it's gonna be really hard to hit. Because if they do hit you, they still gotta like wound you on a 6. Not counting obviously for AT weaponry or tank cannons or shit like that. I'm talking about just small arms. Except for when it comes to heavy machine guns. That's a benefit to heavy machine guns. I think they're gonna cut through transports real easy. Yeah, so let me take a look at that Bad Rabbit, because I think I remember seeing you posting that in one of the Discords about your Easy 8. Oh, nice! Congrats on getting Colonel Winters. That's awesome, or Major Winters. Oh, God, that's tough. So I'm going to be honest with you. Gameplay-wise, I think you're fine. But, like, scale-wise, I think it's a little small. It almost looks... Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Scale-wise, it looks barely bigger than, like, a 28mm or a 1:56 scale Stuart. I mean, don't get me wrong, Shermans were small, you know, but at the small Sherman. But gameplays wise, I think you're gonna be fine. I cannot imagine anyone complaining about that on the tabletop. As long as all the other tanks you make are at that scale, you'll be okay. But if you have like Stewarts that are smaller than that, then you're gonna start kind of almost getting into the advantage territory, being able to hide it, you know. Hey, what's going on, Squidfist? Yeah, so like I said, for gameplays wise, for like chill games, you're okay. And if all of your tanks are made at that same scale, you're okay. But if you start mixing scales, like if you try to put that tank on a tabletop with a Warlord, you know, Greyhound or a Warhorde M10, it's not going to work and it's going to look really weird. Glad you made it, Squidfist. We're just finishing up the master copy of the trucks. We can get replicating it on all the other ones and batch paint it. I'm not a 3D printer, and I'm not a good scale guy, so I can't. Unfortunately, I don't think I can give you good direction on the percentage. Bad Rabbit on how much to scale up that Sherman. It just does look a little small. Oh man, Squidfish, you'll have to tell me how the narrative thing goes. I love hearing about narrative games. I love painting my orcs, but I'm not sure if I'm really going to play Warhammer 40k outside of maybe a narrative game. But I have been looking at one-page rules, and they do have a narrative version, so I may try that. Oh, and you guys might like this, actually. I got Mrs. Tiki, her first model in a long time. So she really likes lizards and dinosaurs. So I got her this really cool lizardman. And then, you know, showing her one-page rules, I was showing her the Star Host Sarans. You know, they're basically like lizardmen, but for 40k in the Grimdark. And she thought it was really cool. So we may actually end up building her a small little, well, mostly for me, but she'll probably paint it. But we'll probably get a, to go with the orcs, we'll probably get a nice little lizardman army for one-page rules. Yeah, so it's like the old, like super old kit, right? I am not gonna lie when I say this was the most complicated. Oh no, I think one of my 50 cal just broke. That's unfortunate. This had to be one of the most difficult models I think I've ever built. The instructions were complicated as all hell. It literally said like, hey, follow it, build these things by the number. And I'm glad they did, because none of it made sense. It was insane. Alright, I'll have to fix that 50 cal. That one broke. It's alright. Oh, nice. I found it. Never mind. I can glue that back on. I heard I heard it click. Yeah, it's alright. I found the piece for it. Alright, so from Squidfist, he said, yeah, my friend sent in a cool-ass mission pack. He made so me and a friend have a co-op mission, but we only know. Oh, you're part of the mission. That is so cool. Man, I love that. Yeah, I see that, and I really want to think about doing like co-op kill team and stuff like that. Like that's really neat. Alright, I'm just going around just neatening up the frame a little bit, then I'll go in and fix the bed. Put gray on the tires, do the windshield wipers black, and call it a day. I know RK has done a lot of work using other game templates to try and make like a narrative bolt action thing. And if you end up doing that, even if you like host it up in your neck of the woods, man, I'll drive up there for it 100%. I would love to do some narrative bolt action. Hey, what's going on? Squid Hunter Sean. I had seen your Fez. That is super cool. Alright, we're just getting this thing painted as fast as we can. I think as Squid Hunter Sean says, painted like a one-eyed blind man with Parkinson's. He is not wrong. I feel that's probably the most apt description of my painting skills I've ever heard of. Yeah, please do Squid Fist. I'll be excited to see it. I'm so far behind on all my videos now Factor reports, so you know it's kind of hypocritical for me to be like, yeah, I put one out as I haven't put out any of mine. But I would appreciate it if you do. All right. Like, it doesn't have to be like actually, for me, the models don't have to be actually pretty, they just have to be like prom pretty. You know, from like far away and at the beginning they look pretty good, but as you get closer and like later in the night as they start sweating from dance and stuff like that, and the makeup starts to run, and the dress is uncomfortable, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you're really not that pretty. Okay, cool. Same thing with these models, you know, they just have to be like prom pretty. Just pretty enough with the pictures in the beginning. You know, the more you handle them, the worse they get. Yeah, Squig and Sean sent me progress reports of the progress photos of the orcs. Man, they look amazing. I think I'm slowly getting them into collecting more and more orcs. There you go. That's the mentality that keeps Squiggle or Sean, nobody is all that ugly from behind. Yes, that is the spoken mentality of E1 through E4, and that's why there's so many, you know, TRICARE pregnancies. That exact reasoning right there. Like, most military bases don't even have hospitals anymore, they just have clinics, except for they'll all have fully functional neonatal wards for that exact reason. Alright. Bought it. Oh, Squiggle and Sean bought a Stompa. That's awesome. The Arvis Lighter Core. Yeah, so being like I guess like more of the lore nerd, not the kind that just watches like other people's lore YouTube videos, but you know, from reading a lot of books, lore books back in the day. That was the whole point of why the Arvis lighter is still like around and legit. Is that was like the smallest void capable shuttle. So if you wanted to go from orbit to planet side, like dirt side, you had to either take a big ass like Aquila lander, you know, or take an Arvis lighter. Valkyries were never ever made to be orbit to the surface ever. Yeah, I've seen those Squiggle and Sean. I'm thinking about getting a bunch of 3D printed ones because I can't have lunge mines, you know, but I figured those tank hammers are pretty much the same thing. So I think I'll make it a whole bunch of like tank hammer guys. So I want to read this out for you. So Squiggle and Sean's like, hey, I'm building the Rekka crew kill team now. So I bought a box of boys so I can make all the options in the box. Then I realized there'll be boys left over, so then I bought Luda so I can use all the extra bits to make bonus. Yep, it's a never-ending cycle. That's something I've learned so far, and granted I've only been playing Orcs for like, I'm not even playing, but I've only been collecting for like a month. But the 2018 boys box, the one that comes with 11 Orcs, that one's the best one. That's the modular one. The newer one, they have cooler poses, but they're mono-posed. But I'm still going through my... Hold on. I bought the Warhammer, the Old World, the Orc Boys mob. Comes with 31 models. I'm still using that to build more orcs. That thing was a treasure trove. I bought some 3D printed rocket launches and a whole bunch of slugga arms, and then I'm just using that to build boys. It was a great purchase. I think I got it for like 60 or... I mean, it was part of a trade-in, so I didn't really pay anything. I just traded in something for it, but I think out the door is like 60 or 70 bucks, and it has 31 orcs in it. Hey, what's going on, CB Cooper? We are painting some trucks, and actually, let me fix this 50 cal before I forget. All right, I'm back. Yeah, Squidcutter Sean says the old world box to converter stream. Yeah. So if you want to build Orc Boys, that's something I recommend. First off, if you don't have a lot of bits, I recommend getting a lot of bits. I dove in a big bits box at Warpfire Games for like 2 hours. So it was insane. I came out with a lot of good bits. Particularly, what I needed bits for was making the power claws for the knobs. Making power claws, I really had to like dig around and get a lot of different bits to make those. But if you have the bits for it, or obviously 3D print power claws and sluggas and all the stuff you need, yeah, grab that 31 model box of Orc Mob Boys from the old world. It is insane. First off, you have all sorts of cool close combat weapons. You know, you got drums and so much cool shit. Yeah, Squiggle Sean's exactly right. It's a Kit Basher stream or converter stream. I did get a cool model in. It's up in the cabinet, otherwise I'd grab it. I'm probably gonna run him as like a pain boy, but I can also run him as like what was it, Snickrat, the commando boss. It's actually a sweet tooth model. He looks really cool, but his weapon profile, he looks just like a commando or just like that boss. So I can run him as that if I wanted to. Yeah, it's a little sweet tooth orc from Twisted Metal. Glad to hear you're doing well, CB Cooper. Welcome to the stream, buddy. It's been a while since I streamed. I got back. I took a couple days to relax, get ready, and I started streaming. As soon as I wanted to stream, like I was like 10 minutes late. As soon as I wanted to stream, my OBS started acting up. It's like, hey, we're gonna automatically update. I was like, I don't want you to, and like changed all my settings and all my shit. And I was like, took me forever to get running again. Oh, Squigger Show, I got something to show you. Speaking of orc models, you might like this. Wargame Atlantic, they're a little, we've talked about it before on the stream. I think it's called QUAF. It's those weird little, like, anteater looking things. It's like their own little war or whatever. Kind of looks like World War I, but with, like, anthropomorphic anteaters. Anyways, one of the kits they sell comes with 2 little tanks. And they look just like, you know, Gretchen tanks. They look or Grot tanks. They look absolutely awesome. Quarry, that's what it is. Yeah. Thank you, RK. Yeah, they have like these little tanks. It's like those look like Grot tanks. I was like, that's perfect. Just like, I think it was on one of the Morning Glory streams. I think somebody mentioned it. I looked at it, and when I came back, somebody had just mentioned it in the stream. But I have a box of those like cannon fodder for Wargame Atlantic. The ones you can use as either like, you know, Marines or as like convicts, you know, like a penal legion. And then I noticed the pistol. I was like, that's a very unique look. I was like, that pistol looks just like that gun from Fallout. You know, the 5.56mm pistol that itself is based off the Blade Runner pistol, you know? I'm like, huh. And then I didn't think about it until I looked at it. I'm like, wait a minute, these are just jumpsuits. I was like, oh, I can build vault dwellers for Fallout with these guys. Like, that is awesome. And as soon as I said that, somebody said it in the comment section. I was like, oh man, they beat me to it. No, RK, I missed out on some of it. It's been a busy couple of days at work. Actually, my job made the news. But, no, I've been crazy busy, so, like, I've been bouncing in and out of streams. That's why when he banned me for 24 hours, like, oh, it's actually convenient. Like, cause I'm going in and out of streams. But what happened, RK, on his last stream? I missed this last one. And no, Squig Undershot, my job has nothing to do with India or Pakistan before you ask. Oh, well, the ban. No, it has nothing to do with the Pope either. I feel like you guys are just building up this whole, like, insider, like, this inside joke where I'm, like, some kind of, like, alphabet soup spy or spook or something like that. That's not me, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the Pope the reason why you brought up the stream? What happened on his last stream, RK? I could tell that poor guy needed a break. I feel like he was on his I feel like his patience was on its last leg. I have no problem if he's watching this because he'll probably agree. Oh, the ban, yeah. I think I did get banned the last video too. I think I got 2 24-hour bans in a row. So I think that's my third one. There we go. Yes, that is true. He does put up with this for a living. Yeah, no, mad respect to that guy. First off, I couldn't do this for a living. Secondly, yeah, he does have, in retrospect, in comparison, when you zoom out, there's a lot of patience to put up with all of this. No, I have a lot of respect for people who could do YouTube full time. That's a huge commitment that I 100% could not do. You guys are awesome, but, you know, I only got so much in the tank. Besides, I like my full-time job too much. Oh, nice, CB Cooper. Nice, man. Glad you're getting back into jiu-jitsu. You know, short of people not cleaning the mats and the risk of ringworm, and there's not a lot of like medical issues with that. I mean, I always felt like it's like one of the safer, it's one of the better, I guess, fighting styles to take. You know, less prone to injury. You could still like pull a hammy and some other stuff. But there's nothing too crazy. But I say one of the better fighting styles. I'm clearly not an MMA fighter, so I wouldn't know. No, so yeah, RK, he put so RK says, wait, the guy selling the Temu Isuzu, or the Isuzus, I'm saying they're Temu ones. Oh, hold on, I got a moth flying in here because I have the door open, so I was spray painting. Moth one shock to my light. Why put a red dot on the gas tank so people have a better target when shooting at it? No, so he put it looks like he put a red dot on either door, and he put like some lotus flowers in the gas tank. I don't know, it's weird. For those of you guys who missed it earlier in the stream, I found on eBay a guy selling these same Temu trucks that everybody like me is using, but they come dark green, right? So he just put like a wash on them, put some stickers on them, painted the tires, and then was selling them as Isuzu Type 94 trucks for Imperial Japanese at 28mm, selling them for $16 American a pop, plus like $6 shipping. All right. Just putting small details and touches. Oop. In the truck. Brown. CB Cooper got your brown belt in BJJ. That's wildly impressive. Squig and Sean, they don't give you your black belt until you start drinking coconut water regularly. It's pretty good. No, probably like most other GWAT vets, I was exposed to BJJ because that's like, that mixes up your combatives training, you know, or where I was from, we call it our parts, physical apprehension restraint techniques. So it's cool. We learned mostly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We had to learn it because that's what most soldiers were taught, you know, and oftentimes we're apprehending other soldiers, you know. Like I want to say like half of all people I arrested were probably Cav Scouts. But for those conspiracy theorists at home, I will drop a fun code phrase for you. I was one of the last squadrons to go through, we called it Blue Coach. I believe the term for it was called Blue Coach. I was one of the last squadrons to go through Blue Coach training. And there, I actually got exposed. We learned more Krav Maga and like weapon retention. And it was night and day difference. Not taking anything away from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think it's super cool, but this was no comparison. This is a different kind of technique. This is a whole different world, whole different type of fighting, and it was really cool to kind of like learn both. You know, because it's just more tools for your toolbox. You know, you add more tools in the toolbox and pull what you need as you go. That added some very odd tools. Yeah, Super Cooper. So yeah, we had to learn. We had to incorporate BJJ into our combatives training. Literally, they literally told us it's for scrapping with Army and Marines, and then for our other job on the security side, less the law enforcement side, we learned Krav Maga and more weapon strikes, and that was super useful. One of the cool things we always did, and we did it about twice a year. Not every squadron does it. Unfortunately, only half the squadrons I went to did. But we used to incorporate squadron-wide pugil stick fighting. For like PT, we do it about twice a year. They'd always pick like the muddiest day for it too, which is always a lot of fun. But pugil stick fighting was huge because that helps reinforce your rifle fighting techniques. And we actually drew a lot on that, surprisingly, still to this day. It was a lot of fun. Combatives were always a good day, man, because you generally saw rank relax, and you saw those like little quiet kids who got bullied the whole time. You see them like unleash pent up rage and just absolutely rock the shit out of somebody on the mat. And that's the fun thing about BJJ. I'm sure CB Cooper could talk much more accurately about it than myself. It's a skill based system. You know, size is important, don't get me wrong, but BJJ is an equalizer when it comes to skill. I've always been a tall guy, but towards the end of my career, I started putting on more and more weight from injuries and from, you know, lack of PTing and stuff like that, of course. But one of the last combatives I did, I was one of the bigger guys, and our instructor, he had, I don't think he was a black belt, I think he was probably a brown belt. He'd been to like level 2, I think, but not, I think he'd been through level 2. But he knew a lot of stuff, and no one would fight the instructor. It was like, oh, you want to go up against me? And I'm like, you know what, I will, why not? And I refused. I was like, I'm not gonna tap out. Watch this, you know. And it was 2 separate squadrons, like a little bit of like inter squadron rivalry. Not really, you know. I'm always joking around, but oh man, that dude, he beat the shit out of me. Like we went for a little bit. I tried to surprise him with my leg strength. And I tried to go for like an arm bar on the ground, like a little Americana thing. And as soon as he sensed that, dude, it was like fighting. It was like fighting a 6 foot tall, 180-pound Filipino boa constrictor. This guy just like slithered in and out. I couldn't even just like hold him down. That man just was great at shifting his weight and would just slither around. And sure enough, he ended up getting me in a I think it was like a ended up getting me in a guillotine. I refused to tap out. It's like tap out. I was like, nah. And I kept trying to fight against him, you know. And he just apparently I kept trying to talk, but it just like turned into like absent randomly. I don't remember any of this because clearly I blacked out and passed out on the mat. But apparently I was still talking to him, like trying to talk shit and make jokes, but it just came out as like grunting and absolute gibberish until I just like passed out on the mat. All I know is I woke up and I was like, ooh man, I felt like I like time traveled. I was like, where are we? I was like, I was like, are we still training? Is the day over? Like, no, dude, you just passed out. Yeah, it was always the most important thing. I always felt one of the most important things in any combative training, I feel. You know, and again, I'm not certified, so, you know, my opinion's not worth much. But if you can take a hit, that's probably that's one of the first important things we taught. Can you take a hit and stay on your feet? You know, that's always the first thing to train. You know, and then it's, can you fight more than one opponent and stay on your feet and take hits? From then we started teaching striking and all the other stuff, but that was always the most important thing is can you take a full-on hit to the face, or can you take like a little bit of choking? Can you take some actual violence in your life and stay on your feet and stay cognizant? That's the hardest thing to teach, in my opinion, anyways. We did a lot of red man fighting, particularly with batons and, like I said, rifle fighting techniques. A lot of red man fighting. Americana, I'll take an Americano. But hey, you know what? All those combative, for those of you guys who watch the stream a lot, all those combatives came in handy when I went to California. And those random individuals boarded the riverboat that was my hotel. And because my room was right there in the lobby, you know, I was the first door they were banging on. They tried to get in my room, tried to get past me. And I was like, hey, it's amazing. All the combative stuff you learn, that stuff you still remember. It's like muscle memory. Well, it's not like, it's exactly muscle memory. It's exactly what it is. Dude, yeah, I still can't believe I literally, by the definition, got bum rushed. In a riverboat converted hotel in the middle of an American city in 2025, I got boarded. I woke up to basically pirates. Oh god, that was a long trip. I'm just glad I didn't seriously get hurt or seriously have to like deal with any legal repercussions. Shoot, I mean, I wasn't in my skivvies. I sleep in pajama pants, but you know, at the same point in time, actually, because it's cold as shit. It was super cold. So I was wearing pajama pants and a, you know, like one of those like fishing t-shirts. You know, like those long sleeve UV ones. So, I wish I had a rum bottle. That would have been useful. Actually, glass probably would have made that whole situation worse. Yeah, to be Cooper, if you didn't know the story, so I was visiting some people for work in my work site, which isn't in San Jose, by the way. I mean, not San Jose, Sacramento. But I was staying in Sacramento, the city of Sacramento, and they have a boat, the River King. It was converted into a hotel, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I like ships. I was like, I have to pay, you know, out of pocket, and all the hotels cost the same. If I'm paying this much money, I might as well stay on a converted riverboat, you know, that'll be fun. Well, apparently the weather got really bad right before I got there, and it was really cold and rainy, which wasn't fun because I was walking everywhere, taking trains. But apparently a lot of the highly mobile population, to get out of the cold and rain, they just try and break in wherever they can, and it's a long, slippery walk up the gangway. But they walked up the gangway and broke onto the riverboat. And my room was like the first room on the main deck of the vessel. Like, there's the lobby, you know, with the concierge and like all the snacks and stuff like that. There's like this little lobby area, and then like the first door up and to the left was my room, which is great when I stumbled on board the ship drunk. You know, I was able to find my room from the bar upstairs. But mine was the first room they tried to get into. They're just trying to like kick in doors, break things, take food. You know, so I opened the door. I stepped out to like, you know, what's going on. And as soon as I opened my door, one of them tries to like kind of crouch and run past me to get into my room. Like, I had a lot of valuables in there, and I had some important work stuff, you know. So I'm like, not a chance. So I just, as he tried to run past me, he crouched and ran past me. I kind of reached down and wrapped my arms around him and kind of pushed him back a little bit. then he tried to run past me again, so I just like hip tossed him. And then like mid hip toss, I kind of like wake up and I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? So I like kind of like close my door behind me, and I'm standing in front of my door, and another one kind of moves up to me. Then we start seeing SPD, Sacramento PD board the vessel. Sorry, that was my dog. So everything was fine. No one was seriously hurt. I said I tossed one, and I kind of like pushed back another, and I was about to grapple with the third one. And then SPD showed up. They had to have a conversation with these guys. I mean, they didn't deploy any less than lethal or anything, but they convinced these guys to leave after they walked around the ship for like another 20 minutes. And this was like the middle of the night too. And then one of the SPD's officers stayed by, like, hey, can I talk to you? I was like, oh, you need my statement? They're like, well, yeah, but also we're gonna issue you a warning. I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? Yeah, so I got a official verbal warning from Sacramento PD. But on the plus side, they asked if I wanted to be checked out, you know, for medical stuff. But you know, I took a shower, and I looked to make sure I didn't have any kind of like puncture wounds, because that's what I was worried about, was like puncture wounds. But from like needles or anything. But no, I was fine. Let's go get a shot. I thought all you guys preferred rooftops. I'm not Korean. I don't know where you think I'm Korean. I'm not Korean. I love Bruce Campbell, Squid Fist. When Tiki tells stories, I always picture Bruce Campbell doing the biopic. I love Bruce Campbell. I'm not sure how to take that. I'm not sure if that's like sarcasm or funny or not. I mean, I hope my stories are entertaining to you guys, truly. I have a lot of them. In the few years I've been alive, I've racked up some absolute insane life experiences. Yeah, my favorite part was reporting to my boss the next day. He's like, so, how was your hotel? I was like, ah, funny you say that. I was like, just a heads up, you know, and I told him about the verbal warning, and he just laughed. Yes. That's a good term for it, CB Cooper. Yeah, that's something I noticed a big difference of between where I live here in Florida and California. Now, there are some parts of Florida, particularly like nicer parts, like you're talking like the St. Pete Peninsula and stuff like that. They'll generally have a large amount of what do you call it? Urban outdoorsmen. That's a good one. But something I will say, the multiple hurricanes we had in the last year have actually drastically decreased our urban outdoorsman population, just because it's wildly dangerous and destroyed a lot of temporary shelters. So it's actually super good out here right now. But yeah, over there, yeah, it is noticeably an issue. Now again, I'm not a Californian, but something I noticed is they take a lot of passive aggressive government attempts to try and deal with the population instead of dealing with it directly. They do a lot of like, you know, hostile architecture, a lot of like passive aggressive style attempts to deal with the issue. Sean cracks me up. I'm not Korean, I'm not Indian, I'm not Pakistani. All I hear from you is like, I never said I wasn't Indian or Pakistani. I said I haven't been to Karachi in a long time. You interpreted it the wrong way. I cannot be blamed for your interpretations, and you cannot chalk them up as lies. Oh yeah, I absolutely love Burn Notice and Bruce Campbell. Sam Axe is definitely an awesome character. nowhere near as cool as that, but thanks for the comparison. That actually totally made my day. I probably do drink like him, actually. Speaking of which, I'm about to get up and pour myself some more margarita. So here's my other story about a deterrent, CB Cooper. So I had to go back up to Sacramento from Oakland. So I figured if I'm gonna do that at night, instead of paying for an Uber, let me take a train, and not just any train, but let me take the Coast Starlight. You know, one of the nicer Amtrak trains. It has like an observation deck, a cafe car. Like it's awesome. By the way, I highly recommend Amtrak trains like that. But anyways, so I'm like, all right, my train, I think it departs at like 2100 Pacific time, right? So I'm making my way from some really cool bars in Oakland, naturally, you know, drinking. And so I'm like, oh, I got plenty of time to walk down to the train station. So I'm walking down to where the train station is, and I notice, you know, I'm on the right side of the railroad tracks, like literally the right-hand side or starboard side if you want to look at it. There's this elevated walkway, right? And it's all like got a glass, stuff like that. Looks cool. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I can go to that tower, get in that door. I can walk up those stairs, cross over the crossway over the railroad tracks, and come down right inside the train station. I was like, oh, that's wildly efficient. That's awesome. That should have been my first mistake, right? Or my first notice. I get there and the door's locked, and I was like, what the fuck? Why is the door locked? I was like, huh. And then I look and I was like, oh no, I gotta walk all the way around. Copy that, Bad Rabbit. Hope you have a good night, brother. Yeah, I'll try and stream a little bit earlier on Sunday too for you guys as well. We'll try and do a lot more streaming. Try to catch up. But so back to the story. I look on the map and I gotta like walk literally like 2 blocks down. Actually, I think it was like 3 blocks down in the dark and rain to an unlit railroad crossing track that's an active roadway. Cross on that and then backtrack 3 to 4 blocks just to get to the train station. And it's like cold and rainy. I was like, luckily I was filled with rum, so it's like, oh, this is no big deal. You know, one foot in front of the other. So I trape all the way down there, almost get hit by a car crossing the active roadway. That's the only way to get across the railroad tracks. Because, you know, I'm not gonna hop the fence. I'm not like that. So I finally get there. And I go to talk to the guy. I was like, hey, you know, I check in for my train. I was like, hey man, by the way, you know that like that crossover bridge, you know it's locked. He's like, yeah, we had to lock that. I was like, why? He's like, oh, well, you know it's cold outside. And I was like, yeah, I got that. I just walked, you know, 6 blocks. He's like, well, yeah, you know, people get in there and they try and sleep. And I was like, okay, I get that. I was like, but what's the alternative? He's like, yeah, you just gotta cross over there by the railroad tracks. Like, you mean that 4-lane almost highway? He's like, yeah, just keep to, he's like, just keep to the shoulder, you'll probably be safe. I was like, so hold on, you have people walking in the dark, walking on the shoulder on a roadway that's not lit because some people try and sleep in the crossover bridge. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool, okay. So then I try and go to the head, you know, before the train comes, and the head's locked. I was like, so I walk back and like, hey, the bathroom's locked. He's like, oh yeah, and he looks around to make sure no one's looking. And he like flashes me a little dry erase board with some numbers on it. I was like, what is this? He's like, this is the code you need. I was like, I need a code to go to the bathroom? And I'm like, it was just I don't know, it was a very foreign experience to me. It was very, very strange. It's like they take extra steps to deter it, but they don't actually actively address it. But again, not my state, not my city, not my problem. It just seemed very interesting to me. I love this like homebrew lore we're making for me. But no, like I said, I generally don't, I don't get involved in stuff until it involves me. And like I said, so it was like between 3 or 5 in the morning when they boarded that vessel and started banging on my door and then tried to run in through my door. Yeah, that's when it involved me. And then I got yelled at. Oh my god. I feel like Squid Cutter Sean, if you're my DM, I feel like I can be rolling a lot of nat ones. Alright, I got a few more finishing touches to put on this truck before I move on. Start bash painting the other ones. We'll probably start with the beds first and move the hoods. It's really funny you say that, Squid Fist. For a while, I thought about like writing all my stories. So I was gonna take all my stories, add in a few stories on some buddies I know, and then come up with a bunch of fake stories as well, and kind of write them all a lot like I hope. If you read the books, I hope they serve beer in hell. Like I kind of wanted to write like all my stories from like my time in the Merchant Marines or Merchant Mariner, you know, Naval Reserve, training with the Army, Air Force, Space Force, like all the crazy shit I've done. There's some really funny stories in there. And make sure I put in a few fake ones just to kind of cover my ass, because if they're all true, they build a timeline. It's very easy to narrow down who I am. So you have to kind of put in some fake ones to kind of throw them off a little bit. But the reason why I didn't is I don't mind telling my stories. I think I only tell like the funny ones, you know. I don't tell like the serious stuff. But for all the other stuff, I don't know. I don't know. I think some people need to go out there and kind of collect it on their own. You know, I feel like if I just made a book, and I feel like they become everybody's stories. You know, if I tell them here, you know, it's just a random, you know, live stream and a random channel no one can really find. You know, but a book, it's kind of written down. I also feel like there's less likely of a chance of a live stream being used against me by a jury of my peers in a court. You know, so I feel like a little bit safer telling some of my stories here. Maybe I'll wait until like I'll check some statutes of limitations, and once those are surpassed, then maybe I'll write a book. Pull an OJ, like if I did it. Oh my god. I will say this: if anyone's young enough to enlist, if you think you like crime, if you think you like doing, you know, hood rat shit and getting away with it, definitely go military law enforcement. Depending on what you do, you can get away with a lot of cool stuff. And it's legal. Oh, no, it's CB Cooper. No, that's not at all what he is. He just finds pictures of random Asians, all different ethnicities, all different types of Asians. Southeast Asians, Far East, all different types, and just sends it to me. It's like, is this you? I'm like, no, that's not me. Once I finish this truck, I will refill my margarita and we will carry on. Man, I love reading this chat. It cracks me the hell up. All right, hold on. Yeah, exactly. Squidfish for my own protection. I'd have to do it like that. He says, "Haha, that's the move." Anthology style, all disconnected and different guy each time. I guess that's one way to narrow it down. A large net cast. Yeah, if you have the free time and the funds available, or lifestyle open, I highly recommend traveling, either as a tourist or with government service some way. But you see some of the most wild. I don't know. Maybe it's still wild out there. I feel like it hasn't changed that much, but the invention of not the invention of smartphones, but the combination of smartphones and the easy accessibility and popularity of social media, it has changed a lot of stuff, but I feel like some things are still probably pretty wild out there. Close. You're getting closer, Squid Hunter Sean. You're getting closer. Sorry, Squid Hunter Sean says, I like to go back to... Oh, Kashikistan. Let's go back to Kashikistan as a tourist. Maybe it's some Tiki's people. What was that? Was that Manas? Was that the name of the base there? Manas Airfield? I can never remember. I can neither confirm whether I've been there or not. I think we're almost just about done with this truck, which is awesome. I really want to re-up my margarita. Even though I still gotta fix the, oh man, I still have a whole bunch of brown to do on the other side. Ah, it's like the never-ending truck. I just keep finding more and more stuff to paint on it. Oh, you're so close to figuring it out. Go get it, Sean. I could be a floating Tiki head. You don't know. Be part of your imagination. Except for the fact that I've already like played games with RK, Irish, Trooper, and Doc Ginger. I don't have contacts. I am but a simple, humble YouTube person. I have no contacts. Oh snap, I think I was using the wrong brown. See, RK confirmed it. And actually, I had to put the fire part out because apparently it's a huge fire hazard. Kept setting the sprinklers off. Alright, I think that's good for one truck. Alright, we have one truck done out of 6 plus 5 Jeeps. That's a lot of painting. Yeah, CB Cooper. So CB Cooper's question is, okay, actual bolt action question. This is the list you were building of or after an MP unit, right? Yes. So this unit, I have the troops in my cabinet right now, but yeah, this unit is the 83rd Infantry Division's organic MP platoon. So there's military police divisions that were deployed in World War II, but every now and then infantry divisions would have a platoon attached to them of MPs, you know, mostly to process POWs, or what we now call EPWs, you know, run checkpoints, handle traffic, and a bunch of other stuff. So the 83rd Infantry Division, for people who like World War II history, you'll commonly heard them referred to as the Ragtag Circus, a few other names. They were known, infamous actually, for commandeering every vehicle they can get a hold of, you know, and basically almost turning the entire infantry division to almost a motorized or mechanized force. They captured multiple German tanks, tons of German vehicles, from Opel Blitzes to command staff cars, all sorts of French trucks. I mean, they captured everything they get their hands on. They would just slap a green paint job on them, you know, put a white star on them, and just have them roll out. And so I thought it'd be hilarious, you know, because I was prior military. I was military law enforcement for the Air Force. But I figured it'd be cool to do a military police unit and kind of like homage to that. And I figured of all the military police units to pick, why not pick the one that was basically embedded in a unit that was notorious for like legal looting. So the list is I want to say I have to pull it up again, but I think I have like one bazooka team. I think 4 infantry squads, very small. They're packing SMGs and BARs, you know, for doing like a and they all have trucks that they ride in. The whole purpose behind that is so they can set up checkpoints. Because you get a truck like this, a heavy machine gun, you know, and then you get a couple guys out to search vehicles, and you have a Jeep as like a chase vehicle in case they run the gate. You can chase it down in the Jeep. Yeah, the armored platoon attached, just 5 Jeeps with heavy machine guns, and all the troop squads, they all have their own organic, or they all have their own truck to transport them with heavy machine guns. So the cool thing is the trucks I took in order to meet the points requirement, they're like the biggest trucks you can take. So when we played the big Fall of Berlin game, I'll have plenty of room in my trucks to transport other people's units. That'll be a lot of fun. Alright, I will be right back. Let me grab a drink. I am back. Without the courtesy of a chair stream. I, for one, won't stand for it. That's pretty good. Alright, time to work on more of these trucks. I have so much to paint. Oh my god, why did I wait till the last minute like I always do? These events slay me. These events kill me, they really do. It's alright, I'm armed with an awesome stream that I can just do lots of. Yep, it's just gonna be batch painting. That's all it is. Hey, Mad Larkin, what's going on, buddy? What's a guy like you doing up this crazy time stream or time frame? Glad to see you, brother. Hey, Nathan, man, look at this. Nice. Gents, how you guys doing? Welcome to the stream. Yes, I am back. I was gone for a hot minute. I actually just got up to refill my margarita glass, actually. I think, now I could be wrong here. If someone please correct me, but I'm pretty sure the Blood Ravens were created in the Dawn of War games. Like, I'm pretty sure that's when that chapter, as far as our timeline, was created. Now, they may do retroactive lore and have them go all the way back to, like, the foundings or whatever the hell. But I'm pretty sure Dawn of War is what made the Blood Raven faction. Yeah, Squig Hunter Sean, nice try. Yeah, that was awkward timing. I was like, hey guys, I gotta disappear. I gotta go do some drone stuff in the field, and that whole thing kicks off, and I'm like, fuck. There'll be no living this one down. Yep. So we have one truck painted. So we have one truck painted as like our master copy, and I'm just gonna try and batch paint all the rest of them. If anybody wants a bunch of SMG and BAR American infantry, let me know. I won't be able to use this army after this game because of the update in the book. And my American army is going to be my treasure hunter army. You know, I don't want to have too many armies going on. It's just going to be a lot. So I'll be giving the troops away and the jeeps if anybody wants them. You guys just let me know. A lot of you guys like Mad Larkin, CB Cooper, and Squig Hunter Sean have been nice enough to help me out in the past with all sorts of help and goods and services. I appreciate it. Bob the Gene Stealer too. Oh shit, hey, that reminds me. I'm so sorry, CB Cooper. I hope you're still in the chat. Sorry, my mind had been absolutely blank because I was worried about getting these painted, but I have something. Oh. So I won't show the envelope it came in to protect CB Cooper, but I received this from CB Cooper. I will open it on stream. It's a very nice gift from CB Cooper, which I greatly appreciate. He gave me some Orc Commandos, and I'm super excited to get these guys out. So let me undo the wrapping here. Oh yeah, look at that orky goodness. Oh my god, look at those bits. Look at those bits. Oh. Oh my god, so many good bits. Yes. Thank you, CB, truly, thank you very much. This is very kind. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh, nice, another rocket launcher. I always need rocket launchers. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have a blast building these guys. Thank you, CB Cooper. And now that I'm armed with your dress, I'll be sending you some of my I have some extra Gene Stealer cultists if you like them. I think I remember you building some GSC stuff, so I'll send those to you, buddy. I appreciate these very, very much. Thank you, CB Cooper. Very, very kind of you. Truly, thank you. Not that kind of late night stream, Sean. Also, if you guys ever want to chat, my name is the exact same way it appears in Discord. Feel free to send me messages. I'll chat with you when I can. I try and get back to everyone every now and then. There's a little bit of a delay, but I try and read everyone's messages and get back to them. Nathan, buddy, I saw you pop up earlier. How you doing, man? Your channel is exploding, as well it should. I'm so happy for you, buddy. I went back and I watched that one video. I'm not gonna lie, you saw my comment on it. That's still my favorite video you've done. I think that opening is probably one of the funniest videos I've seen in a long time. Really well done. Just slap this paint on here, just get this thing painted. I'll be using these trucks a lot in different armies, so I'm going to keep them all green for this thing, and then I'm probably going to repaint some of them later on. I think only my American faction that I have can actually field heavy machine guns on trucks. I think the British might be able to, but I don't have any British forces right now. Oof. Yeah, I feel you on that. I have to completely redo my whole Adobe Premiere thing and get all my videos set up the back way they used to be. Like, I've waited too long where I'm trying to, like, unearth old technology and try and redo what I used to do, so it's definitely a huge delay on as far as, like, my actual, like, videos. That's why I mostly just do streaming. Once I get a chance to sit down and kind of unearth a lot of videos and get all of them finished editing, I can finally start putting them out. So Nathan, I think you'll officially make it. I know you're not technically a 40K YouTuber. I know you talk about a lot more than just that. You know, like you you talk about different games. Like you say you're an XCOM guy, but you haven't played the best XCOM game. So, you know, I find that kind of an odd statement. Anyways, since you refuse to play XCOM Declassified, I think you'll truly know you've made it as like a 40K YouTuber once they start including you in like their little like internal drama videos on like who's a cool 40K YouTuber and who's not, you know? Hey, Squidfish, there's nothing wrong with that. Most vehicles were all pretty much monotoned, you know, except for like the track and some other stuff. I'm with you. Right now, I'm just trying to crank these things out. I wish I had more of a dark green spray primer. I would have just spray primed these things dark green. You know nothing, Nathan. You don't know me. Get out of my head. Well, I hope your life's going good, Nathan. I know, I hope it's not adding too much stress to your life, and I hope you're actually having a good time, man. I feel, and again, I'm not an expert, but I feel like people make their best videos when they enjoy what they do, you know? So I feel like when they get too stressed out, I think it'll show in their work. You know what? Alright, hey, Square Cutter Sean, this is just for you. Ready for this? Alright, I'm gonna put some paint on my finger. I'm going to legit finger paint. Are you ready for this? Yeah, look at that. Look at that finger painting. Look at that finger painting, Sean. Yes. Oh yeah, look at that finger paint. Just for you, buddy. That's high quality. That's high quality YouTube paint tutorials right there. How to finger paint. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Sean. You're a funny guy. I did not expect that to go on smooth. Oh man. Yeah, sadly, I think I actually did paint better by finger than I did with a brush. God, what is wrong with me? This is why we can't have nice things. Sean, you're the reason we can't have nice streams. Exactly the reason. Yeah, no, it was actually a good thing, Nathan. Don't let these guys, this weird homebrew lore of thinking I'm some kind of, like, spook or anything, like CIA guy running around, or NSA, or DITRA, whatever agency you want to throw out there. No, I was just doing, utilizing drones, from my local area for a demonstration. But I had to be in the field, so I was away from home for, like, 2 weeks. It just happened to coincide with a really suspicious time in global politics. I'm gonna stop correcting them and just let them run wild with this like homebrew Tiki lore. It's like where in the world is Carmen San Diego, but with like more war crimes and humor. That's exactly what a spook would say. Oh my god. I swear, if I have to go for another security clearance and this whole channel gets brought up by the investigator, I'm gonna be so mad at you guys. I will say, if you haven't seen it, I recommend the show. What is it called? Is it called The Recruit? I think it's called The Recruit. It's the kid. He graduates from law school and he gets like lumped into the agency pretty quickly and just kind of like fails his way up. From what limited interactions I've had with Alphabet Soups, somebody on that show staff knows what they're talking about. Like, some of the stuff in there is shockingly accurate. Not all of it, but some of it is extraordinarily accurate and very funny. Yeah, CB Cooper, I really should get in with the amount of scale painting that I do. I really should get into airbrushing. The only reason I usually don't is because I play Imperial Japanese. The base color of my army is Zendari Dust, so I just spray prime everything and then just paint what I need differently. You know, so for that, I never really needed a spray primer. Same thing, my orcs. You know, I paint them. Usually Zendari Dust, and I paint on from there. And for their vehicles, I have a Mephisto Red spray primer. This is the only army I've had to like actually paint. I had a really cool one, but I gave it away at a prize for an event. It was I bought it a long time ago when I first got into Warhammer 40k when I came back to the States. So it looked like a little hand flamer. So it was like a plastic hand flamer, but it was your airbrush. Yeah, don't tease me, RK. I love working on my orcs. I still enjoy playing bolt action, don't get me wrong, but I absolutely love kit bashing and painting and working on my orcs. Every time I catch up, like I'll be catching up slowly on painting orc boys, and then I go in a mad rush of building and I build like 20 more and I'm like, fuck, now I'm back behind on painting. Yeah, I'll be going till 0600 Eastern time today, just because I got a lot of painting to do. And then tomorrow I may or may not start early. I'm not sure, so it depends how work is. I had a busy day Friday. Before he starts another armed conflict. Like you cannot you cannot charge with, like I said, I feel like it's like where in the world is Carmen San Diego, but with war crimes. I've never been to Belize. And I'm working on the website for the Clash of the Caribbean, which exciting. For those of you guys tuning in now, we actually have all 6 slots for the actual event for Clash of the Caribbean filled. Now, people are still welcome to get their tickets and come on board the cruise ship and hang out with us. I'll also be like hosting some Conflict 47 stuff during the day we're docking the Bahamas, people on their excursions. But as far as for the actual event itself, we actually have all 6 people, which is crazy. But I'm working on the website for it, so I'll probably do it every year. And I'm working on the rules pack. And while I was working on the rules pack, I was toying around with the idea of making a modern war version of Bolt Action, obviously like a fan, kind of like a fan mod, if that makes sense. And I'm just toying around with some of the rules for that. Take it easy, RK. Have a great night, brother. Thanks for joining in. Right, Squidfist? Now, who knows? Maybe one day it'll get like so crazy big that like people like I'll have to like actually rent out the conference center on the ship and host a big ass thing. I don't know if it has been done, Squidfist. Bolt Action International Waters is maybe the first. Yeah, Squid and Tron, I think there are a bunch of like fan-made conversions for it. It shouldn't be too hard, but I don't know. I'd like to, maybe make it like in a different way. Like I like the dice pool mechanic, but there's all sorts of cool stuff you could do in the different like eras. Like you could have Cold War from like 1960 to like 1990. You could have the interwar period or the Balkan period, 1990 to 2001, and then you could have 2001 to I don't know, like 2020 as like the GWAT era. See, I like to do it where instead of like a random dice pool mechanic to kind of speed the game up, if you just like, it'd still be like an I go, you go, it wouldn't be like 40k, but the way it works is like each army will have a initiative. The initiative is based off the units you take or the type of force that you have. So if you're like an armored fist, or if you're like mechanized versus motorized versus if you're on the defending side and you're asymmetrical warfare, or your regular forces, it gives you a different initiative. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Like I said, just a thought. I'm toying around with some of it. I think the first thing that I'll build is, just honestly just for fun, would be like a small starter set. It'd be like a mix between, because what I want to focus on is I want to focus on like bolt action, but maybe even a little bit smaller, like bolt actions like firefight. Somewhere between the size of Warhammer 40k kill team and like full on bolt action. Or bolt action's more at the company level, like I really do kind of want to focus at like the platoon level, like a lot more of the small unit tactics. Like this wouldn't be like an open warfare style thing of like, you're not talking about like the Battle of Hastings or like, Cold War armored tanks charging each other in the Fulda Gap. This is going to be a lot more CQB mount style, stuff that I find really interesting. So like I said, my idea for like a starter set would be like Red Dawn. Like you can pick either a small motorized rifle Cuban Nicaraguan force, or you can pick the high schoolers. Yep, welcome to it, Nathan. They're gonna, you could always, Nathan, I think the answer is you could always go Red Corsair. They didn't pay taxes. It worked out well for them. Exactly, yeah, Wolverines. So it's pretty cool, and I figured like, I don't know, I've been reading a lot about one-page rules and taking a lot of examples from that. So the cool thing with the mentality that I'm trying to build is you can set up any kind of force you want. You can like create your own nation or create your own unit, but the way it works is it has like a pro and con system where you can take one pro that makes your force separate from like a list of stuff you could do, or you could take two pros for your unit and then take one con. A great example would be like yeah, so for like the Wolverines, like their con would be like they have no heavy military vehicles, nothing other than like civilian transports. But their pro is like they would get guerrilla tactics, and they would also get, I don't know, you'd call like home field advantage or something like that. You can call it Wolverine. Like there'll be like certain kind of like universal rules you can pick from to give each kind of unit. That way you can make whatever your unit you want to make is like, do you want to make the Fedayeen, or do you want to make East German border guards, or do you want to make trying to think what are some other crazy ass units out there. Do you want to make the Viet Cong, or do you want to make River Patrol, like Black Beret Navy Riverine units, in Vietnam? You can do all sorts of cool stuff. There'll be like a list of universal rules for armies. I'm taking a lot of the ideas from one-page rules and from what's that game system called? I cannot think of it. It's it's kind of like D&D. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But it has like a benefits and negative, and you have to use a combination of both. Nathan, don't you lump me in your schemes there. But yeah, I think that'd be a fun, kind of like if you look at the size of like the bolt action starter set, especially with the cardboard cutouts. I think that would be really cool to do like a Wolverine Red Dawn style, And there's so many good Americana style buildings at 28 millimeters too. I think it'd be really, really neat. Yeah, no, Mad Larkin, that's exactly, yeah, a lot of people used to do that, and same thing, I like that too. Build your own regiment. The Gene Stealer cult had that. The Gene Stealer cult had that in 9th edition. That's why I wanted to play them in a crusade really bad. You literally got to just make your own cult, and you got to pick from like a list of rules. To me, it's like the coolest thing ever. You can, that way, no one could be like, hey, you know, I want to play as the 75th Ranger Battalion. Like, okay, you know, like here you go. Or some people are like, hey, I want to play this very unique unit that no one's ever fucking heard of. You know, like, oh, okay, well here, pick this. I'll have to look that up. Book 20, Force 21. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's a good way that Games Workshop could incorporate all different guard regiments, is give you that McPick menu. And the way that would work is, that way you can represent all these like kind of older things that they'll never make models for. Like they'll never make models again for the Desert Raiders or the Savlar Kim Dogs or all this other kind of stuff. But they can give you kind of like unique rules. You're like, okay, cool, yeah, that's really neat, you know? I don't know. I feel like if they're yeah, sorry, CB Cooper, I was reading your things. CB Cooper says 9th edition did a lot right with the guard and GSC. You can have your own personal army and then just build custom detachments to it. Yeah, exactly. I really liked it. I thought it was super cool. I said I got a whole bunch of Gene Stealer stuff in 9th just to do that, but nobody was doing crusades in my area, so it's like, oh damn. So I just traded off my GSC stuff. I think a lot of it actually went to Bob the Gene Stealer. Yeah, and not just that. I feel like when you have, and again, this is my own anecdotal, I guess, evidence and my own opinion. But I felt like when you have that option to really make a unit your own, then you don't change it so much to be in line with the current strength and weaknesses. You know, you're like, oh well, my unit will always have this. Like, for example, they could buff for using bolt action. They could buff light AT guns or medium and heavy mortars. They can make them a little bit better. I still won't take them in my Imperial Japanese army because that's just not my style. You know, my style, I lean into this like fake tropical alternate history thing. So all my guys are highly mobile. You know, light mortars, gun trucks, same thing. They could give Imperial Japanese a heavy machine gun team, which would be super cool. I love the woodpecker as much as the next guy, but I probably wouldn't use one. You know, very rarely would I use one. I'll stick to my my gun trucks. You know, once you kind of build like a lore around like your regiment or your unit, you kind of stick to it, you know, and you already have the models for it, you know. But therein is the point, though, that I think I just answered. Because once you're set in your ways regiment, you don't necessarily go out and buy the new hotness. So that may be why they no longer kind of do that. Too many people were being stagnant about their forces. And I think just an observation. Again, this could just be Tiki talking shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Very, very fair point. But I honestly feel like they're trying to get away from the lore in the tabletop. They're trying to make it two separate things. Like, you can enjoy the lore, but I think they're trying, from my observation, from an outsider's perspective, trying to get away from a lot of the lore inclusion in the tabletop, only because in the world of social media, where your opinion is only one tweet or blue sky comment away, you know, too many people find something they don't like in a lore and then make a huge case out of it. Or maybe they don't, and then other people, you know, release that one story, then 50,000 other YouTubers release the exact same story at the exact same time, and, you know, Barbara Streisand the effect until it goes crazy. Oh, okay, Forced on Forced. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. So I think right now they're kind of treating the lore of GW almost like an airlock system. You know, trying to keep it independent from the tabletop that makes them all their money. That's just my observation, though. I think that's why they're kind of making it very like, oh, you know, this model does this kind of thing. Yeah, I've heard Force on Force is a fun system, Squig and Sean. I have that bad 5th edition DM mentality where I like taking what works in a bunch of systems and I kind of want to put them together. Like, one really cool mechanic that I absolutely love is from Zona Alpha. I love the way grenades work. Like, if you want to throw a grenade, what it is you roll a d10, and that's how far it scatters. It is absolutely wild. Because if you know what a D10 dice looks like, you know, it points a certain way. So it is a super, super cool mechanic. So Tiki, when are we going to get a collab with Morty and he's in your neck of the woods? I believe he is. Not to dox the guy, but he is currently on holiday in the great Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. But I think the most important part is that poor man is on holiday, so I will not bother him. If he opens up his location, if he opens up to do a meet and greet down here in our area, if I'm off that day, I'll trip over there to see him and say what's up. But I'm always available for a collab, and people just have to ask. I just don't want to bother the poor guy when he's on holiday, especially when he's with his spouse. You know, I want them to have a true good vacation. I don't know if he will do a collab with me. I think you'll have to correct me, Matt Larkin, but I think I hold the most the most bans in this community. I think I have the longest time banned. So I don't know. I just I wouldn't, as far as like doing collabs, especially with like big channels and stuff like that. I mean, this is, I think Nathan kind of brought it up a little bit, is I'm in a weird niche, I guess, where I don't want to go full-time. It's easy for me to say that because I'm not full-time and I don't have the numbers anyways. Like, once you're at that cusp, it's a whole separate conversation, you know? But I don't want to, and at the same point in time, I don't really kind of tailor who I am. I'm just kind of loose and say what I think with you guys. I wouldn't want to do something that would negatively impact a real streamer who actually, like, this is their livelihood, this is how they put food on their table, you know? I wouldn't want to negatively affect anybody like that. So that's my only worry about ever doing a collab with anybody. I don't want to negatively affect them, And at the same point in time, I also don't want to be fake and artificial and be like, oh, I have no thoughts on this matter, like, no. If I think something, I'll say it. But I have nothing against people who stream full-time or who are full-time YouTubers. I think I find enjoyment in it, and therefore I think it's as honorable as a profession as any other entertainment industry, be it a music artist or an actor or actress or anything else. They're performing entertainment and getting paid for it. Good on them. But I just don't want to fuck that up for them, if that makes sense. Yeah, back to your comment, CB Cooper. So he says, like 10,000%. I think it's the path of least resistance, avoid controversy, but also make money by catering to a competitive scene. True, and maybe you guys notice this too. I think, and I'm not blaming it. I'm not old man yells at clouds, but I think with the rise in popularity of battle royale games, particularly Fortnite / PUBG and stuff like that. So we're looking like 2018 and on. I think that's when you start seeing the big change and not just Warhammer 40k, but a lot of stuff went more hyper competitive because that's what people are used to. They're used to, jump into a battle royale game. Maybe you win, maybe you don't. Nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with a competitive spirit. Truly, I mean, it's literally what drives the human population. But I feel like what worked for PUBG and Fortnite and every other game that tried to release a battle royale, I think you're starting to see that in tabletop. I used to say it was more like Dota and stuff like that, but that's a little too far into the nerd thing. I think with PUBG and battle royale, Fortnite being so mainstream, I think that's what's making tabletop wargaming competitive scene so mainstream. I think it was a weird and again, this is just my observations. So I think it was a weird, what do you call this? Flashpoint, I think is the term I want to use. It's a weird flashpoint for like nerdism or nerd culture, 2018. So at this time, I think Big Bang Theory was just coming down from popularity. The whole Critical Role and the whole D&D thing kind of was exploding. And that took a narrative model, tabletop RPG about Dungeons & Dragons. It turned it a little bit more, it leaned into more of the slice of life stuff, kind of like The Sims and things like that. And then you also had the whole PUBG, Fortnite thing, hyper competitive battle royale, and that was affecting tabletop wargaming. So tabletop RPGs leaned more towards slice of life and a little bit softer and more open to more audiences, whereas tabletop wargaming leaned same thing, more competitive, but you also notice less lore based and more open to general audiences. Yes, so let me read off what CB Cooper says. He says, that does make sense now. I never thought of it that way. It did negatively impact the game design for Warhammer. Losing unpredictability or fluffy rules for mechanics that negatively impact you is a downer for me. Yeah, I was talking about this with Doc Ginger when we were playing our 500-point game of Bolt Action. We were talking about rerolls and how rerolls are rare in a game, and I've always thought it's weird if you have a game that has a dice-based mechanic, right? Like dice are essential or should be essential to tabletop wargaming, unless you have something else going, which I can't imagine what that'd be. But bolt action, Warhammer 40k, old world, you know, it's based upon dice, right? So when you keep putting in a whole bunch of rerolls, you're kind of just like taking away or modifying the dice roll mechanic, you know? Like, I can't think of a single casino that would let you re-roll the dice on craps. You know what I mean? Or get an extra spin in roulette. Or, you know, take away everyone's hand and shuffle an extra deck for you and give you an extra card. Like that outside of a few situations, that doesn't really happen, and yet those casino games are still as popular as ever. You know, you go back to ancient times, there's Roman soldiers playing dice, you know, soldiers and dice go back, you know, a long time in antiquity, right? You know, so when you start implementing all these weird rules for re-rolls, I feel like you're taking away the luck mechanic. You're taking away putting it in the hands of random fate, and you're kind of just, like you said, looking for that expected outcome and doing what you can to, you know, I just don't know how I want to phrase this. I feel like a lot of tabletop wargaming, sometimes people are winning more of the battle, and this isn't a bad thing, but they're winning more of the battle in the list building. You know, it used to be like you could kind of take whatever list, and it was really based upon your skill, your tactical skill on making, you know, last minute decisions on the tabletop based upon a situation, because you never know what the terrain's going to look like, and you never knew what your enemy was going to bring, and you never knew what was going to happen. So it's up to you to make these last minute tactical decisions, like, hey, if I put you absent of anything else, any information, and tell you to make a quick decision, can you make the best decision, right? So that was the skill set you brought, and then you also had the luck factor of dice. So you brought your army, your list that you're comfortable with, you showed up there, random shit happened, you had to basically do an OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act, and then based upon that, they rolled in a dice to add even more complications, right? And that's what made it fun. But now it's like you hear what enemy your army is, or you hear what army your opponent has, and you already know what the most meta list is, so you probably already know what he's going to build. You already know what it can do. You already know what the terrain looks like before you ever get there. It's crazy. Some people like it, and that's fine, but to me, it's mind-boggling. I feel like you're just taking away a lot of the variables that come with a tabletop wargaming, you know? So, hold on, let me catch up on the chat. I've been monologuing here. Yes, yeah, so I'm reading all your comments. I agree with you guys. Yep, again, that's just my opinion. I don't know, I like, maybe a lot of people don't agree with this, but I think the terrain is one of the big things. That's the easiest thing to fix, is terrain shouldn't be mirrored, or it shouldn't be perfectly symmetrical. It's not laser tag in the 90s, you know, and you should never know what it is. You get there, maybe there's a huge ass river, you're just like, holy shit, that's weird. Or like I said, yeah, so I think the rerolls are what really get me, because I feel like that's taking the last bit of randomness you have from the game, because you've already standardized terrain, which some people feel strongly about it, some people don't. That's fine. You've already taken away the randomness of armies by taking away point buy and putting in a overall cost system. You know, where it's, you know, if you're already paying 240 points for the squad, you're going to take them with a certain weapon because that's the best loadout. You know, that makes sense. So they've taken like the randomness out of what your enemy's list could be, because you already know what's the best thing for them to take. Now, to be fair, they have introduced the randomness of drawing secondary cards, but you already know what all the secondary cards are, and very rarely, from what I understand, is there secret objectives. So I feel like the dice are like the last random mechanic left, and they're already putting in shit tons of rerolls. So I think that's where, speaking of a collab with Morning Glory, every now and then we disagree on things. Now, he has a lot more experience than I do, so I think his opinion is probably more valid, but I'm not a fan of talking out a game, and the reason being is you should never know what the dice are going to do. You never know what's going to happen. So there shouldn't really be a lot to talk out, you know, unless somebody wants to surrender, like, hey, I'm not feeling well, I just don't want to play this, or like, hey, I ate a bad burrito, I gotta go hit the head for like the next 40 minutes, I give up, you win, kind of thing. Other than that, there really shouldn't be talking out. Like, you shouldn't really know what the hell's gonna happen. There should be a lot of randomness to it, I feel. But, again, that's just my opinion. Yeah, Mad Larkin, I agree. Reroll should be rare. There you go, Mad Larkin. Yeah, I like it. Show up with the meme. No, Squigger Sean, you're exactly correct. Yeah, when you rely on the D6, that's there's not much you can do. And that's why I like incorporating, scatter dice or incorporating different types of stuff. Like I talked earlier about the Zona Alpha's D10 rule, where there are grenades or stuff like that would scatter 1d10. It's very weird, very odd. Well, I think I've talked with you, Squig Sean, about implementing, almost like a randomization table before you play a game. Like roll a d6, and sometimes it could be a warp storm, so you're having to be like a -2 to your teleportation or deep strike or stuff like that. Or it could be like, landmines. There could be landmines on the field, so therefore you can't really do a lot of you can't do like infiltrators or anything like that. A disagreement. No, it's funny. There's actually been a lot of things in a good way. Like I said, I really like his content, but there's been a lot of takes that MG Morning Glory's had that I respectfully disagree with, and that's fine. We're two separate players. Like one is, and I think this is actually maybe a cultural difference, I'd say, between subjects of the UK and us treasonous colonists. But and I want to avoid gotchas and unfair traps. Like I'm not trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh with a blue eyes dragon upside down in trap mode or some shit. But I also understand that to subtly and subterfuge. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't say that. And deception can be part of warfare. Now, I'm not saying like you hear horror stories where like, "Hi, I'm not going to tell you this." I'm not saying be a shitty player, but for instance, in Bolt Action, we have something called. Ooh, hold on, there it is. Ambush. We have order. Oh, jeez, that's bright. Sorry. All right. There we go. So we have order dice and we have ambush, right? So if I have a model down, I'm like, hey, I'll tell you once, like, hey, I'm putting this guy on ambush. I'm not going to constantly reiterate that he's going. I need every turn. Be like, hey, are you going to pick up that order? I'm like, no, I'll leave him on ambush. Like, I'll tell you every turn he's on ambush. But if you're about to move a guy into open cover and you forgot that truck's on ambush and I have a giant red and white die that says ambush next to it, I'm not going to stop you from running across that field and be like, all right. Be like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you as you cross that fucking field, I've seen people, and again, I had a very polite game with Doc Ginger, and he said one of his guys on ambush, and I was like, ooh, if I move, you're probably gonna shoot him. He's like, I absolutely gonna shoot them. I'm like, yeah, okay, let me move this unit over here. I'm like, okay, cool. Like we talked it out, we're fine, but it was on me to remember that unit was on ambush, and I read his dice, right? But I've watched, particularly Morning Glory, and not just him, other UK. Is the term subject or citizen? I don't know. We'll call them Englishmen. There we go. I've watched other Englishmen play, and they're very polite. Like, oh, hey, don't forget, my guy's on ambush. I'm like, why the would you say that? Like, I'm not going to hide it from you, but I'm also not going to advertise it either. Like, if it's a teaching game, that's different. That's totally different. But the game I was watching, the games I watch were not teaching games. But it's almost, like I said, I think it's a cultural thing. It's almost like, oh, I'm not trying to be shady. I'm like, I have an infiltrator unit. Like, same thing. If my lunge mine is hiding behind a building, I'm not going to remind you that the lunge mine's back there. Now, if you ask me, I will 100% tell you. I'm never going to lie to you. Be like, hey, is that truck on ambush? I'm like, yes, he is. Or it's like, hey, is there a lunge mine behind that building? I was like, oh, there absolutely is, and he's waiting for you. Like, we'll still have fun. I'm never going to lie to you, but I'm also not going to tell you everything. I'm not going to give all this extra stuff. Just like, because where do you draw the line? Are you going to tell them what you're going to do every turn? Like, oh, hey, my objective is I'm going to sneak behind you and do this. No, I just need to tell you what unit's moving when I'm shooting at. And same thing, I always provide with my own printer, I provide a printed on paper list of my army. You know, so I give you my army, you can read it, and I explain everything. I'm like, hey, these guys have this, these guys have this is my special rule, and I have this. I explain everything to you. I'm not hiding anything from you, but I'm also not gonna give you the keys to my porch either. You know, I'm like, But again, I'm not trying to be a whack. I'm not trying to win, but at the same point in time, you know, ambush is part of the game. You know, infiltrators are part of the game. I feel like when you are actively telling people your unit's on ambush, like more than just saying, hey, this guy's on ambush, you know, then I feel like what's the point of being on ambush? But to be fair, I think it's a fine line. I think saying that, do I think some people would use that, and I hate this term because it gets overly used on the internet, so please bear with me here. Do I think some people would use that mentality in bad faith? Oh, absolutely. I think there's some people, whackers are always going to wacka. You know, they will find a way to win at all costs, no matter what you do. Anybody with that type of mentality, not every competitive player is a wacka. I 100% believe that. I've met tons of good people who also play competitively. So not every competitive person's a wacka, but wackas will always wacka. It is what it is. So, yeah, would they lie about it, you being on ambush or not put the dice next to them? Yeah, probably, but they'll always find a way to do some kind of hoodoo, you know? I think you just have to have a good mentality about it. Be fair but polite and firm, you know? Know what you're about and be fair and polite with it, but also you don't have to give them the keys to the kingdom either. But if they ask, I think, yeah, always be honest. You don't have to be like, oh, you have to come over here and look. You know, like, I think MG has that story. It's a really good story where that guy had, like, the secretly was hiding those units on the thing. It's like, oh, it's your fault for not looking. To be fair, he is right. It is your fault for not looking. But he also didn't tell you, and that was shitty, too. But, no, that's something I've always disagreed with on. Because otherwise, what's the entire point of ambush? It's a very weird thing. But I also like faster paced. That's why I like bolt action. I like faster paced war games where you can't sit there for like an hour and you know, double, triple, quadruple measure on where you're gonna move at and get the most optimal move possible. It's like, hey, quick, fast, hurry, here's your dice, let's go, kind of thing, you know. To kind of replicate that in the field fog of war frontline leadership style that you get with small unit tactics, you know. For example, if anyone here is old enough to remember these games, hot take, I think it's some of the best games Gearbox ever put out. But the Brothers in Arms, I want to say is the name of the games. It was like the Road to Hill 32, Earned in Blood. I think there's like 3 of them, not counting the spin-off that was on the Wii. But if you ever played those games, or another one, if you ever played Star Wars Commandos, or Clone Commandos, right? Where it's a first-person shooter, but with a squad mechanic that you can order around. So kind of think like Mass Effect, or to a lesser degree, Rainbow Six style stuff. The old Rainbow Six, not the new shit, not the whole Siege thing. That's just another battle royale with extra steps. But with like a squad-based mechanic. I always felt that's kind of like what bolt action leans towards. Like you're on that front level of leadership. Yeah, you can kind of slow down time, but you need to like rapidly order your guys to find, fix, flank, and finish the enemy. Where I feel like Warhammer 40k was a lot more like playing StarCraft, you know? Kind of more of a zoomed out approach. But again, that's just my crazy take. I've never seen anyone use a Cyclops tank, Mad Larkin. I would love to see that. So I think you'll see they're not gotcha mechanics, but you'll see these things kind of pop up when you're talking about. I've seen it pop up with lunge mines. Luckily, my lunge mines stick out, you know, so it's pretty easy to see them. But I've had people forget about them. You know, if they ask me like, "Hey, where's your lunge mine, guys?" Like, it's behind this building right here. You know, I'll tell you. But if people forget about them, I'll just keep them there. But same thing with snipers and forward observers, you know. But another one, and this is huge for bolt action vehicles with the recon or recce special rule. A lot of people get really upset when they take a shot at a vehicle that has the recce rule. You know, so naturally you just move out of the way and they've quote unquote wasted their shot. I've heard multiple times, it was like, oh, I wouldn't have shot if I knew that unit could move. I'm like, well, you know, I went over my army. I said, which units have recce or recon? You know, and once it happens once, it probably won't happen for the whole game. So, but it's weird because you don't just get recce; it's built or recon. It's built into the points cost of the unit. Like if you take trucks as part of a reconnaissance platoon, you have to pay the extra points so they all have recce or recon on them. That adds to the benefit of them. Or why you're taking an armored car or a tankette instead of a tank, because it may have recce or recon on it. So you are paying a price for it. So it wouldn't be fair if you paid the price for the special rules for a model and then you didn't get to use it. You know, because you have to constantly feel like you have to keep reminding people that it has a special rule. So that way no one ever like shoot. It's a weird thing. I guess it's a fine line between trying to trick people and being a fair opponent, but also, I don't know. It's like, I don't understand how Gene Stealer cults work now. In 9th edition, they had the whole, yeah, CB Cooper, if you're still here, hopefully you can enlighten me. In 9th edition, they had the little blip mechanic. You know, that was super cool, you know? You had to know where your guys were, but you didn't have to actively tell people which blips were real. And that was like the whole thing of the army. That's what made it cool. So I guess it's a fine line between sportsmanship and subterfuge. And I feel like that should be like a whole video. I should actually make a video on that, I think. You know? Modern tabletop wargaming, the fine line between sportsmanship and subterfuge. I feel like that might get some spicy comments with it. Some people feel pretty strongly about it. I mean, I kind of feel strongly my own way about it, to be fair. So I sit here and rant about it. CB Cooper, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That doesn't make any sense. That's not at all what they used to be in 9th. That's really sad. I don't like that. That's terrible. Do they still have like the crossfire mechanic where you can like set people up in crossfires to make your stuff stronger? Yeah, man, as always, Mad Larkin, well put. You put it better than I could. It's not about deceiving your opponent, but you're also not there to play for them either. You're exactly right. So what I'm thinking of is my approach to it comes from being a forever DM from D&D. I'm used to being a DM for a D&D party. You know, where I'm still part of the group, I'm still part of the friends, you know, but it's my job to play the adversary, to play the bad guy. I know where the monsters are, I know where the traps are, but I'm still making it fair and fun for everybody. So I think because I have that, I come from that DM background, doing that for so long, I think that's why I have that approach to it's okay to use subterfuge in tabletop wargaming as long as it's fair and fun for everybody. You know? CB Cooper, man, I feel terrible now, man. That's rough. That's not what the rules used to be. That does not sound fun at all. For the new rule for Cult Ambush, that doesn't sound like an ambush at all. You know what that reminds me of, CB Cooper? If you guys have seen the movie, what's it called? Oh man, I forget the name of the movie. It's a Clint Eastwood. He's a Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, and this is definitely like in the 90s. And he gets assigned to a reconnaissance platoon. Marine recon platoon, and he's getting them ready for, I'm pretty sure they go after Noriega. You know, they go to, Grenada. Anyways, in this movie, I think it's Heartbreak Ridge, if I'm not mistaken. In this movie, they're doing a force-on-force engagement with Miles gear, so it's like blanks and laser tag mixed together. And the recon unit is the recon Marines are supposed to go to a certain designated point. Heartbreak Ridge, thank you, yeah. They're supposed to go to a designated spot to ambush the main force and then get obliterated. But they can only ambush them from a certain spot that the enemy knows ahead of time. That's exactly... I want to make sure it was Heartbreak Ridge. For some reason, I was getting mixed up with something else. But yes, exactly, Heartbreak Ridge. So if anything, CB Cooper, that's exactly what that reminds me of. That reminds me of the bullshit ambush they did for like the Miles force-on-force engagement. Such a good movie, by the way. If you've never seen Heartbreak Ridge, I highly recommend it. So Quick Hunter Sean, you can keep throwing out. Actually, you're getting closer and closer. I know. I see what you're doing. So as I keep telling Quick Hunter Sean, you know, wrong Asian stereotype, he just keeps working his way up north. But still not there yet. What? Oh my. Oh. Man, CB Cooper, I didn't know the GSC got so many rule changes like that. That's awesome you still play them. I mean, that's some awesome loyalty, but that's rough. The rules in 9s really did make them like a space GLA. They were awesome. Don't get the prick the satisfaction. That's such a good movie, man. I think my favorite part of Heartbreak Ridge, not spoiling it for anybody, but there's a very realistic scene, only because it's my favorite scene now. I don't think it's where I got the idea, but it's something we did when we were deployed. We were in I won't name the airfield, but we were in an airfield that became under attack, and you know we were trying to mobilize and post out security, and we ran out of vehicles. For this unique situation, we actually had more troops in our unit that we had vehicles to deploy them. So luckily, I had some, they're called augmentees, where they're not really in my career field, but they're in another career field. So they were attached, and I was an NCO. And so the augmentees, they came from a career field where they could drive just about any vehicle around. You know, they had every single vehicle, like wheeled or tracked, on their government driver's license. A small tidbit I picked up, and this is why, you know, lesson, you should always talk to your troops. This is why you always get to know your troops, right? So talking to these augmentees, I found out they have this. And so we ran out of vehicles. I was like, hey, no, it's cool. I'll take 2 fire teams on foot. And we'll make our way we'll make our way to that part of the perimeter. We did not go on foot. We went into the flight line, and I happened to spot someone else took the bread truck. We spotted a tug and a 10K AT. And so mounted the guys up on the tug, and you know, some of them rode on top of the tug. It's an aircraft tug. So if you ever seen the movie Aliens, You know, the sequel to Aliens, that little APC they have, that's actually built out of a aircraft tug. They're super low to the ground, right? So they took the aircraft tug, and then the rest of us grabbed a 10K AT. He used the forks to pick up a Jersey barrier, and then we drove to the affected area in an aircraft tug and a 10K AT. But anyways, the reason why I say that is it reminds me of the scene from Heartbreak Ridge, and also from what's that movie with Nicolas Cage where he's a prisoner? Con Air. So Con Air and Heartbreak Ridge, they end up commandeering a dozer. Ended up using a dozer as an impromptu armored vehicle to kind of close with an enemy and use it for cover. It's so funny how that keeps like popping up, and then I actually end up doing the exact same thing without even thinking about it. But anyways, that's now when I watch Heartbreak Ridge, it's my favorite part. I was like, hey, I did that. Oh, that shit was awesome. Yeah, military troops commandeering, as I paint these trucks, the whole story behind the 83rd Infantry Division. Yeah, troops commandeering vehicles lying around in the field to use a force multiplier. It's exactly it's a 100% a realistic thing. Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention, 100%. Yeah, Mad Larkin gets it, yeah. Everybody else is out there in MRAPs and Matt V's. We came rolling up like half hanging off fucking aircraft tug, and the 10K with the Jersey barrier was legit. I was like, it had a big ass fucking Jersey barrier on the front. And the best part is it was 100% legal because they had the proper driver's licenses. So all I could do is get chewed out and not actually get paperwork. Which at that time we had good leadership, and they just thought that ingenuity was hilarious and didn't really care. If I had tried that shit with the leadership that came a few months afterwards, I probably would have lost a stripe, but still would have been worth it. All right, man, we're doing good. Like I said, I got about 30 minutes left before I'll probably call it a night. Finish up my margarita and finish up these trucks. Not bad. So we got our master vehicle built and painted. I mean, it was already built. We got that fully painted, and now we're just going to be batch painting. We'll do all the beds first, then all the hoods, then the windows, and the guns, and tires, and all that other kind of stuff. Then move on to the Jeeps. Feels good to stream, man. I definitely missed you guys. I missed our conversations. Um, I always enjoy our back and forth kind of conversations. And like I said, I'll always offer you and it's just my opinion. You know, I don't play enough tabletop wargaming, I think, to really have a worthwhile or like valid opinion. I mean, obviously it's valid to me, but mine's just a take or just a thought or a theory. I don't throw near enough dice to actually have any math or accuracy behind it. It's just my musings or the rantings of a madman, you know? I can tell you we did try out the Bad Habit modification of the top secret mission for bolt action. We tried that on that 500-point game between Doc Ginger and I, and that's definitely going in the Clash of the Caribbean game. That mode is absolutely hysterical, and it's a blast. It is a lot of fun because there's so much randomness to it. For those of you who don't know the way it works, I'll take a look at that. Larkin, I'm excited to see it. So the way it works is instead of one suitcase, there's 3 nuns, and they all have a letter written underneath, A, B, and C. And the TO or some outside party picks A, B, or C and writes it on a piece of paper. That way you don't know which one's the real spy and which of the other 2 are civilians, and it's not revealed until the end of the game. It's your job to, meeting engagement, so you move your models onto the board, you try and capture a nun and bring them off the map. Now you can swap the nun out for any kind of civilian or soldier you want, whatever, it doesn't matter, or boxes of supplies, you can do whatever you want. But it's your idea to either grab as many as possible, or maybe grab one and shoot the other ones, or try and knock out all their infantry. There's multiple different ways to try and win, but at the end of the day, it's all random. You're not sure who's actually going to have it, so it kind of has a mixed mechanic. It prevents a lot of like win at all costs, but at the same point in time, you can do everything right and still technically lose the game because it's a 33% chance, depending how many nuns you grab, So that's also, I recognize that can kind of suck a little bit, but I think it's just different enough that I think hopefully some people will find it fun. No square gonna shine. I refuse to improve. Not that I have painting skill, but if I did have painting skill, I would refuse to improve it. This is definitely not like Skyrim. It's not like the more you do it, it slowly improves. No, I just refuse. I paint as a form of relaxation. And painting is the tax I need in order to play these models on the tabletop. I refuse to play with unpainted models. It's my own I don't judge anyone who does. It's just my own personal hang-up. Because when I buy models, whether they're 3D printed or from the box, I want to have the fun. And it is fun painting, don't get me wrong. But it's not my favorite part. But I want to build them. Kit bash them if I can, but I want to build them and paint them because that customizes them towards me. And then I want to play them on the tabletop. So it's like 3 levels of enjoyment. If I skip one of those levels, I feel like I'm just getting shortchanged in the money I paid for the model, Mad Larkin, you absolute genius. Oh my god, I'm stealing that. Mad Larkin, that is great. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, it's gonna be a message in a bottle. That's awesome. Oh god, that's so cool. Thank you for that, Mad Larkin. That's gonna make it. That's really cool. For the Bad Habit, yeah, I'll write it down and put the note in a bottle. Great idea, Mad Larkin. Seriously, solid idea, man. Very on brand. I like it. All right, let me put a poll in the chat for the last 30 minutes. You guys can take a look at it and take a vote. All right, there we go with a nice little exit poll kind of going out. Let me check my messages. What we got here? Ooh. Oh yeah. Looking at the armored combat earth mover. So okay, I'll say I was imagining like the armored D7s, but okay, now that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that's like some CB style shit from like the World War II about putting like gunners on bulldozers. That's awesome. Mad Larkin, that is awesome, dude. Nice. Yeah, I see what you're saying about like if you had to read off the rules for Sly Marbo, yeah, it's not usable. Yeah, not to beat the topic to death, but you know, it's a good topic just for the stream. Is I think you just have to feel the room out. Like if you're doing this at an actual like high level competitive event for money, I think it's a little different. You know, if you're doing just a friendly local game too or a teaching game, you don't want to like, you know, seal club some brand new person to the hobby either. I think it's important to gauge your audience, but if it's a unique mechanic to your force, it almost feels like you're just not getting to play with your models, you know, or something that's unique to your force. It's like I thought I broke that 50 cal. I'll have to glue it back on. I don't know, I feel like in most games you play, you know, granted these are single player games, but in most games you play, when you encounter like a new foe, yeah, you actually let 50 cal snapping on the audio. But when you encounter a new foe, you're like, oh hey, that's new. My tactics didn't work. I gotta find out a new way to get around this, you know, this new foe or this new adversary. You know, you think all the way back to like Halo, the first time, you know, you're fighting grunts and elites. You're like, okay, grunts, no big deal. Elites, okay, they have, you know, overall shields, it's fine. But then you go up against the Jackal, and you're like, okay, these guys have concentrated like energy, actual like shields. Like okay, this is different. And then you go up against the Hunter, you're like, oh my god, okay, this is different. Okay, I got to get behind them. Then you go up against the Flood. Spoiler alert for like a 20, 30-year-old game, 20-year-old. You know, you're like, okay, I got to fight these guys differently. I think improvising. I think over improvising, adapting, and overcoming in the field, I think it should be replicated, or could be replicated on a tabletop, and I think that's what these diversionary tactics and subterfuge kind of replicate, you know. But maybe it speaks something to the mind of someone who's interested in tabletop wargaming, is they kind of want to know what's going to happen. You know, think about it when you're doing your math hammering, when you're building out your list, you're kind of imagining what the tabletop game's going to look like. And to be fair, especially with some of these like bigger, what do you call them, like centerpieces, I think that's the term, like these centerpiece units that are in some tabletop war games, where if you have like this big giant thing that's supposed to represent like your faction leader or your god, or maybe a mouse for bolt action, or maybe like a tiger tank, you know, takes up a shit ton of your points, and you slap that bad thing on the table. You're of course you paid the real money, but you also paid the points and the time for the model. You wanted to do badass stuff, you know, and also those are the models that sell for a lot of money, so it would behoove of these companies for these to make sure that these high-priced table center table or centerpiece models actually perform the way you imagine they would for the point slash money cost. So I think that's why you're starting to see a lot more tabletop wargaming be able to be not fought or not won, but you know, be seriously influenced by list building, not list tailoring, but list building ahead of time. You know, people already have an assumption, sometimes very accurately, on how an army is going to perform on the tabletop when it gets there. You know what? I think that's it. I think rambling on like a crazy man while I paint this truck. I think that's why I really can't make it through a 10th edition full battle report. Like I think one channel does like 40k in 40 minutes. That's pretty cool to see it cut down to 40 minutes. But a full-on, you know, no time skipping or anything, a full-on battle report for Warhammer 40k 10th edition, I can't watch it. You know, but I think it's because there's no surprise. I actually see the army list, and I think that's why maybe battle reports don't do that well, because once people see the army list, they're like, okay, I already know how this is going to end. They skip to the end and like, yeah, okay, cool. It ended how I thought it would, you know? I feel like there's just not that many variables going to keep it interesting. You never know what's going to happen. But to be fair, magicians are still employed to this day. Maybe not that many outside of Las Vegas, but people still pay money to go see magic shows. People like to be surprised, I think, truly. Think about movies and video games. People like a good plot twist. Looking at you, Knights of the Old Republic, you know? Or Spec Ops The Line, or some other video games with some good twists. I don't know, XCOM Declassified for you, Nathan, if you're still there. People like plot twists. Yeah, but so you should play Journeys just to put a big old mouth on the table. Nathan's like, of course I'm still here. I know you're a busy man, Nathan, but I'll get you to play it one day. Like I tell people, if you liked the gameplay like the gameplay style of Mass Effect, and you like X-Files, you're gonna like XCOM the Classified. It's just not an XCOM game. Honestly, if they would have just branded it as an X-Files game, I think it would have done like a billion times better, or it's its own IP. Alright, so we got one truck fully finished. We got the beds on 3 more paint. It's actually not bad. I will be painting probably all day tomorrow. I'll probably start the stream a little bit earlier. Maybe around... I'll try and aim for midnight. I think that might be good. Maybe start the stream at midnight Eastern. Eastern time, whatever that is, wherever you guys are. Still gotta paint the Jeeps, and then still gotta paint some of the troops, and then we'll be done. And like I said, if anyone's seriously considering getting into bolt action, and is not sure whether to pull the trigger, after this event, I'll probably be keeping my trucks, my Timu trucks, but I'll probably be giving away my Jeeps and my my troops, and you can use them to put in your army as you see fit, you know. I already have a whole bunch of Americans up in one of my cabinets that I'm working on my Indiana Jones, Rick O'Connell style Fortune Hunter army. Very strange brigade, Department of Antiquity style. I haven't got the new American book. I need to, Armies of, but I have taken a look at the Warlord app. So even with the changes to how the American forces work with, land, air, and sea and stuff like that, I can still take the list. I didn't really lose anything by already building it ahead of time. So I can still take the list that I like for an airborne unit, with lots of forward air observers, trucks with heavy machine guns, probably why I'll be keeping these, and just like a bunch of troops. So I'll probably be keeping that, and that'll be my American army. I don't want to have too many armies spread out too much. Like, I always take more Imperial Japanese models because that's my main army, but I don't want to have like a whole bunch of extra stuff lying around. So that'll probably be why I'll be giving the Jeeps and the troops away once I finish them. Ooh, look at that. Interesting results in the poll. In the poll, so far it looks like 75% of the people enjoy playing as their favorite part of the hobby, and 25% are painting. So far, no one's voted for all the above or for building / kit bashing. Interesting. I'm torn between building and kit bashing and playing. I think I enjoy playing for the most part more than kit bashing and building. I just don't get to do it as much, I think, so it's kind of hard to make that equivalency. That makes sense, Matt Larkin. Yeah, I don't hate painting. I like that through painting I can have a custom unit or custom regiment or custom company. But I don't have the natural drive towards increasing my talent in painting, so it's always just kind of like a meh experience for me. That makes sense, Sean. I see what you're saying. Okay, I got you. Yeah, and I think same here. Because I think because I don't have the skill set of painting, and to be fair, I have not pursued the skill set. I could get the proper tools, tactics, and timing, and actually try and develop my skill better. I could be a better painter. I think if I wanted, I could work at that, you know. But I'm not working at that, clearly. To be fair. But, so through that, I also have to tell a story through my models, so I do that more by kit bashing than I do by painting. That's why I like 3D printed stuff, especially for like orcs. We can get like unique 3D printed models. But I think I'll always still prefer highly modular box kits over actually 3D printed models, because I like putting my stuff together, because I don't like to have, you know, necessarily the same pose twice. You know, in a horde army, I like all my guys look just a little bit different. Yeah, no, Sean, that exactly makes sense. I think as you guys can tell, you know, obviously through this paint and chat as I just talk away, I like telling stories. You know, sometimes they're my stories, or you know, like through D&D, I like creating stories to people. I like being a storyteller. So I think through kit bashing, and through a little bit through painting, rudimentary painting to be fair, but I think through kit bashing and rudimentary painting, I can kind of help tell a story. And then like the game and the dice, you know, help tell the final parts of the story and how it ends. But overall, yeah, I think it was a fun stream. It's great to be back. I appreciate you guys coming back and joining me. I always worry, like, when I'm gone for a little while, I'll be like, man, this guy's not consistent. Fuck that guy. Like, never come back to the streams. Which would make me sad. I mean, I'd keep doing it, but I'd be sad and missing you guys. But I'm glad y'all came back. I know it's always weird hours, too. So, a lot of people, including myself, are here from the Morty and Glory channel. And yes, he is on break. I thought about like expanding my hours to kind of pick up some of that same time, but I thought better of it. I don't want to encroach on other people's stuff, even when they're not there. And I kind of still want to like give them their space. And also, I'm not really doing this to reach out to more people, if that makes sense. Not like a gatekeeping or an elitist thing. It's just, you know, this is our time. You know, it's too late tonight with Tiki. It'd be weird if I started like streaming during the day and stuff like that just because someone else is gone. But that being said, I may stream the same time during the week, though. We'll see. I don't think I will, because like I said, my schedule's getting quite busy. But I'll try and stream a little bit extra hours on the weekends. But because I know some people were talking about that, and that's just to address that. I have no problem hopping on and collabing with people, though, but I just don't want to like step into anyone else's shoes. There's a lot of crossover, but I think they're two separate things, you know? But if you guys have friends, man, let them know. They're free to join and chat with us and paint along and build with us. Like I said, it helps me, you know, slay my grain. Like I said, a lot of you guys that I hear are also building and painting yourselves, so it's kind of cool. They're all just kind of like hanging out, getting all their stuff built and painted together. just trying not to break my 50 cal machine gun again. If I had friends. Well, if you stop accusing us of instigating international conflicts, you'd have more friends. Who is us? Nice try, FBI. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe there's actually more than one Tiki. Maybe only one of us like paints and talks on stream, or maybe there's like a whole army of people behind making all the other videos. And you slipped up. Oh. Makes me think of that American Dad episode where it's like, anyone know anything about any launch codes? Alright, so I think that'll probably be it for tonight. Still got more to paint, but yeah, all day tomorrow. Alright, so just to cover down, we talked about just overall what's been going on in life. We recapped, talked a little bit about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, recapped the literally me getting bum rushed on a riverboat in California. Bizarre ass time. Talked about bolt action, a little bit of the Clash of the Caribbean event coming up in October. Somebody got me on the topic of talking about Warhammer 40k re-rolls, and then that led into the subterfuge conversation. Being a sportsman, but also playing with subterfuge. Hey, what's going on, Weird War 2? Yeah, man, I got a whole bunch of trucks get painted up and a whole bunch of Jeeps. Unfortunately, you caught me, Weird War 2 caught me right at the end of my stream. I'm about to log off, finish my margarita, and head to sleep. Alright, let me, Oh, I love rattlings, man. I heard they changed the rule for rattlings where they can't just like debark from a transport, shoot, and hop right back in. I think they might have changed that. It's a shame. Alright, man. Take it easy and keep it weird, brother. Alright, let's end the poll, see what we got here. Yeah, it makes sense. A tabletop war game. A lot of people like playing the war game. That 100% tracks on me. I view painting as a tax, but painting is also a way to make my models unique to me too. So I'm kind of cool with that. But so a weird hobby tip. I don't know. You may be particular about how your models look. As you can tell with me, I'm kind of not. I do a lot of kit bashing and trash bashing. So for my rattlings back in 7th, I used catechins, which are actually kind of cool. And on their rifles, I actually took Q-tips, or you can probably do the same thing with a toothpick, but I took a Q-tip and I cut off both ends. So it just leaves like a little short tube. And I just put those tubes on top of the rifles. And and just painted them as scopes. It's a pretty fast, easy way of making sniper rifles if you really need to make it WYSIWYG. But again, up to you. So just an idea for you, Sergeant Lot. Yep, toothpick will work too, yep. Yeah, whenever I break a machine gun and I can't find the bit, I'll literally just replace it with a toothpick. It's fine, it's not that big of a deal, you know, just paint it and go. But hey, with that being said, for all you guys who joined, man, a lot of people actually, holy jeez. Oh my god, yeah, a lot of people actually, holy shit. As this stream gets earlier in the morning as the sun comes up, more people kind of jump in. World War II. Nice. You'll actually like this World War II. I'm actually getting another box of Lizardmen from Wargame Atlantic, and I think I'm going to make my own, just for my own lore, not going to use it on the tabletop, but just for my own lore, I'm going to make my own Conflict 47 Imperial Japanese hybrid soldiers. You know, instead of like Shrek Wolfen or Nachtjägers, I'm going to make like half human, half lizards for like swamp warfare and island hopping for the Imperial Japanese. So I'm gonna make them their own like little lizard folk and everything. It's be kind of cool. Thought you get a kick out of that. But for those of you guys who joined us, I appreciate it. You know, it was another Too Late Tonight with Tiki, and I do stream super late, so I do appreciate everyone who joins and bears with that. We'll be streaming again tomorrow. I'll be streaming again tomorrow. I don't know why I said we. And I'll probably start a little bit earlier, so I may start around midnight Eastern, but I'm not sure. But I'll definitely start by 2 a.m. Eastern. And again, probably go until 6 a.m. So for those of you guys who are like me, who headed off to sleep, man, I hope you get the sleep you deserve. I hope you get that good REM sleep and have nothing but great dreams, no night terrors. For those of you who are headed to work, oof, man, I hope it's a good one. I hope you have no meetings that could have been an email, and I hope the vending machine actually kicks you out double Cokes or double candy bars or double chip bags, whatever it is you order. For everyone else, I hope you stay safe, stay hydrated, and don't forget to relax today, because you're on Tiki time.
Shipwrecked soldiers on wooden sand, type array, rifles in hand, hula gals with summer smiles, no war drums, just beach for miles. Ghost parked by Tiki lights, shadows dance in tropic nights, sand beneath where boots once stood, paradise ain't so misunderstood. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of moons, forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands. Bunkers built from palm and hope, coconuts and crude soap, imperial dreams, fade and sun, warriors turn beach bums. Shine to ocean gods we raise, praying for forgotten days, sake in the campfire glow, life's a sword ebb and flow. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of moons, forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of